2012, the Baltimore Orioles enjoyed their first taste of success in a long time, and oh, did it taste sweet. But last year was just the first step. And today at Ed Smith Stadium, the Birds find themselves against the team that ended their season in 2012. Here on Masson, the Yanks will help the O's kick off a new year. The 2013 campaign has begun down here in Sarasota. The Orioles are ready for it. Are you, Baltimore? Are back on Masson on a sunny and warm late February day in Sarasota, Florida. The Orioles getting set to take on the New York Yankees in spring training baseball. And hi, everybody. Jim Hunter and Jim Palmer. So good to be back at it as the Orioles prepare for 2013. And, Jim, there's a lot of excitement in this camp coming off that 93 win of a year ago and the playoff berth. This team now is looking to get to the next step.
Well, they really are. And I think another factor, they won 93 games, which, incidentally, only Oakland and the Yankees won more games in the American League. They tied with the Texas Rangers, is the way they won them, Jim. I mean, we had the 29 one-run victories. You had the 25 two-run victories. You had the 16 straight extra inning ball games. Didn't lose an extra inning game till the postseason against these Yankees. But I think that makes you think that you can win games. They weren't laughers. They were games where it tested your bullpen, it tested your starting pitching, and it tested your defense. The Orioles have a chance this year, Jim, to have probably 8 of their, or actually 7, I guess, or 8 of their defensive players to win Gold Gloves. Only the big question mark on this defense is Chris Davis, who's working very hard on his defense. So this is an improved ball club. They're coming off a foundation last year. They take away those wins. That's the nature of this game, and it all pretty much starts. They're already 2-0. And they won it with some big home runs, and we've got to see some of their young pitchers already.
And here's how far this franchise has come. There are 61 players in this camp, and very few roster spots are available.
Well, they made 178 roster moves last year, so this is old news. But I've been around this franchise forever, but the talent here in Sarasota on this ball club, even though they didn't make a lot of changes in the offseason, is so much better than it used to be. So again, they know Buck Showalter. He's kind of like a bank, higher standards. They know Buck Showalter's standards. And again, if they have their guys healthy, whether it's Reimold or Markakis, they're going to be an awfully good ball club, and it's going to be a competitive ball club that other teams are going to have to beat.
So don't confuse the eventual opening day roster with the players who will go through Baltimore this year. What a day for baseball in Sarasota. The Bird is here. Lineups at first pitch are next. Back in Sarasota, the spring home of your Baltimore Orioles, today taking on the Yankees. Let's get a look at that Yankee lineup, and you will need a scorecard to navigate through this lineup. Brett Gardner, Jason Nix, and Matt Diaz. Juan Rivera will back cleanup. Francisco Cervelli will catch. Melky Mason left, Dan Johnson, Gil Velasquez, and Kyle Roller. Gardner, in his career, .266 hitter, but last year relegated to just 16 games.
Yeah, had the elbow problems, and they'll take on Brian Mattis. Well, you might as well start him up. Last year, he did not do well when he started, went back to AAA. They brought him up. He was terrific in the bullpen, matchup guy against lefties. Health is wealth for him. 7-1 finish in 2010, hurt all of 2011, 1-9, and then to the right, he said, I really want to work on getting right-handers out. Of course, Gardner will lead it off. Wants to get to the outside corner of the plate with a two-seam fastball and his changeup, something that he didn't do well as a starter, but again, didn't have to, because of the matchups, do that much. So it's about getting right-handed hitters out if he's going to start here in 2013.
And there's a strike taken by Gardner. We're underway at Ed Smith Stadium. Gardner now 29 years old in his 6th year. Jim mentioned the elbow problem he suffered last year. April 19th on the DL, and he stayed there until September the 25th.
Yeah, again, it was the right elbow, hurted diving for a ball. And I saw him down at the batting cage, and I said, what happened? He said, well, I had a bone spur. And after the season, had it taken out. Of course, I wanted to be part of what is usually a typical Yankee year, which is a drive to the pennant. And they did get all the way to the championship series where they were blown out by the Tigers. But again, very good defensive guy, scores almost 100 runs a couple of years ago.
Gets a piece to stay alive at 0-2. Well, with Curtis Granderson yesterday suffering the broken forearm hit by a pitch by Jay Happ of the Blue Jays, Granderson becomes even more important for Joe Girardi, as he'll have to patrol center field at least until Granderson gets back. And there was talk he was going to be in center field anyway. So yes, now there's no other competition for that.
Yeah, Granderson was going to assume the left field position yesterday, and he got hit leading off on the road, never got into the outfield.
That one floats inside 1-2. Let's take a look at how Granderson hurt that elbow last year. As Jim mentioned, came defensively. Yeah, sorry. This is the Granderson hit by pitch yesterday.
Yeah, A.J. Happ, just a fastball that runs in, and again, it just gets him on the forearm. He thought it was a bruise, and the result was, it's not a compound fracture, but it's something that's going to take about 2 months to heal. So you're already talking about it. Said, well, if you're going to miss a month, you want one of those months to be in spring training. But again, ideally, and this is part of the game. We saw the Red Sox, they had 29 players on the DL last year. The Yankees had a lot of injuries, as did the Orioles, as did Tampa Bay, as did the Blue Jays.
Sharply hit, diving stop by Chris Davis. The race is on, and safe at first with a head first dive. But Chris Davis made a play like that in the game on Saturday here. This is a great spring for Chris defensively. Nicely done there.
Well, he makes a great effort to get to it. Look how low he is. That's something they're working on. And right here, it's a foot race because of Gardner's speed. And it's bang, bang. And again, full out. There's the defense for the Orioles. And again, it's got a lot of gold glovers on it. Hardy 1-1, Wieters 1-1, Jones 1-1. Markakis not in right field, Connor Jackson. So all around, Davis, of course, wants to be the guy. And Mark Reynolds is now playing for the Indians. He played very well when he moved across the diamond. But Chris Davis, 33 home runs. That led the league. You want him either as your DH or hopefully defensively. But again, he's a very big guy, but he's got a lot of agility. I don't think he's going to have a problem figuring out how to play first base.
So an infield hit to lead it off. Jason Nix will bat now as Mattis misses inside. Nix, a veteran, now 30 years old. The Yankees, his 5th big league team. He was on their roster last year, but they needed 40-man roster space in the offseason, so they re-signed him to a minor league deal. He's in camp as a non-roster player. In fact, the Yankees have, here today, only 3 players on their 40-man roster made the trip.
Yeah, Jeter's not going to play after the broken ankle in the championship series. He's not scheduled to even get on the field till about March 10th, running indoors. And then again, all the players they lost, whether it's Russell Martin, Nick Swisher, Andrew Jones,
Raul Ibanez.
Yeah, he hit 19 home runs. Of course, if you're an Oriole fan, you certainly remember. They were postseason home runs, one to tie a game up and then one to win it in Yankee Stadium.
Brian Mattis now 26 years old, his 5th season, and Jim talked about his season last year. He just ate up left-handed batters. A 175 average, but the right-handers batted 327. Nix fouls it back, 2-2 the count.
Well, he's much better. As we look at a left-hander, we talk about whether you're better to your arm side or your glove side, and he's better to his glove side because when he has mechanical problems, he falls off a little bit. So again, he's trying to get the two-seam fastball, which will be effective to righties, and then if you can back it up with a good changeup. Just think in the history of the game how many good lefties could do that, run the ball away and then take a little bit off.
2-2 is hit to right field, and that'll fall, base hit in front of Connor Jackson.
And you're seeing a little bit of Yankee baseball. You know, it's a pretty routine play by Brett Gardner, except his speed allows him to get on. He's, you know, in back-to-back years, 47, 49 steals, and then you get the matchups. You know, Nix is one of those guys, the same with Matt Diaz, Juan Rivera, who's on deck. These are guys that may play against left-handed pitching. So you get the table setter on, and the Yankees, scored almost 50% of the runs with home runs last year, and that's going to change this year. They're going to have to, I guess in a sense, manufacture runs a little bit better.
Here's Matt Diaz. He's in camp as a non-roster player, his 6th major league team. An outfielder by trade, but DHing today. And first pitch swing fouls it back. It should be in the stands near the Oriole dugout, and it will be. 0-1 on Diaz.
Yeah, 292 lifetime hitter. He wasn't able to do that last year playing in Atlanta. Only 118 bats, a couple of home runs. Maybe that batting average in the low 200s was the reason that they let him go. And the Yankees were there to swoop down on him.
Mattis ahead of him 0-1. 2 hits to begin the game, 2 on and none out. Just misses inside, and 1-1 the count. Brian Mattis, one of the pitchers that is in the competition for a starting spot, but the Orioles know that he was so effective in the bullpen after he was recalled on August the 24th from AAA that at a minimum he is beyond a candidate to be in the bullpen. But early on in these games, and spring training early this year, there's a bouncer to third, could be 2. Machado, Roberts, Davis kept his foot on the bag. Nicely done by Davis. And the double play is completed.
Yeah, not only he makes a great pitch when we talk about Brian Mattis, little changeup. The Diaz gets out on front, exactly what you want to do. He's a fly ball pitcher, but he gets the ground ball, then you let your defense work. And this is a terrific play by Chris Davis. He's a big target, so he's able to catch it, and then he doesn't catch it. He knocks it down. It comes out of his glove. The umpire doesn't see it. But again, with Gardner's speed, he gets up quickly enough. It appeared to me he dropped that ball.
Now, Tim Welke, the umpire at first base, said you're out, and ironically that was the play that Mark Reynolds mastered last year, the diving play to keep his foot on the bat. A runner at third, 2 down for Juan Rivera, and a swinging foul, and it's 0-1. So Rivera looking fastball, got it, and fouls it off. Rivera began his career with the Yankees. He's 34 now, out of Venezuela. Was traded away to the Angels, and since then played in Toronto for the Dodgers, and now back with the Yankees in another acquisition to try to replace those players Jim talked about who left. Can't catch up to it. It's 0-2.
Yeah, even in spring training, I mean, these are one of those situations that we always talk about. Can you hit in the clutch? Can you pitch in the clutch? 2 outs, man on third, scoring position. You get them out. It's one of those innings that's a clean inning, no runs scored, even though they got the first 2 guys on because they made a great pitch. But right here, this is what it's all about. Can you get the guy out you need to get out?
Lays off the high fastball, 1-2. Brian last year 5-10 as a starter, and his ERA 5.42 as a starter, but his numbers as a reliever outstanding, 1-0 and an ERA of 1.35. He was Gardner at third with 2 down in the first. And this is away, 2-2.
Again, when he comes out of his windup, you'll see him really stand up, which is what he did on that pitch. And again, this is your first time out. You're trying to get the rhythm. And the rhythm of pitching is, can you throw downhill? Can you get over that front side? And that's the only way he's going to be able to locate down in the strike zone. As I mentioned, he is a fly ball pitcher.
2-2 swung on and missed. He got him. Mattis gets out of the jam. A couple of hits to begin the inning, but one left. We're at the bottom of the first. Yankees don't score. Here come the Birds. Couple of hits for the Yankees. They do not score. Here come the Orioles in the bottom of the first. And a look at the Orioles starting lineup. Nolan Reinhold, Brian Roberts, and Nick Markakis, who will DH again. Adam Jones in center field, and Matt Wieters, J.J. Hardy, and Chris Davis, with Connor Jackson and right, Manny Machado at third base. J.J. Hardy, a .238 average, 22 home runs, 68 RBIs. He's looking for a bounce-back year at the plate this year.
And for the Yankees, well, #1 in Ks and ERA in the minor leagues, 10-game winner through Tampa, the A affiliate, and then 9 wins in Double-A Trenton. Great opportunity. You're left-handed. You get a chance to show George Girardi what you can do. And just being left-handed, what did Pete Rose said? If you're breathing and you're left-handed, you have a chance to pitch in the big leagues. So there are the numbers. Again, you can see control guy, only 27 walks for a young pitcher, 100 innings.
And he's had an interesting ride so far as Nolan Reinhold takes strike one. Nolan started in the game yesterday in Dunedin and swings through it, and it's 0-2. And this is a very important spring for Nolan Reinhold in his career, coming back from the fusion surgery. And he is regaining his strength, and he says it's not really a day-by-day thing, it's almost a week-by-week thing.
Yeah. I know you did the interview. I had a chance to talk to him down on the cage, and what he was saying is he feels so much better. He's at a situation where the nerve is regenerating enough where he can actually build strength. Couldn't even close a glove. That's the kind of injury he had last year.
Hard hit to short. Velasquez nicely played. And the veteran flips it across to get Reinhold and one down. But that's a good sign, making good contact behind in the count.
Well, again, he gets fooled early in the count on a breaking ball and then makes a nice adjustment. And of course, he's one of these guys, and when he is healthy, and that's going to be something we will get to see with Adam Jones going over to play in the World Baseball Classic. He's going to get a lot of at-bats. But I think to me, it's how he looks at the end of March, not how he looks here at the end of February.
Here's Brian Roberts in an unusual spot in the batting order, batting second. And he'll look over strike one. He did make the start on Saturday, the Orioles' Grapefruit League opener against Minnesota. Buck Showalter taking advantage of all these early games to experiment a bit. And Brian told us, we asked him if he is healthy and makes the team, does he need to bat leadoff to be happy? And he said, absolutely not. It's a hard hit ball and a base hit down the line. There's Brian's first hit of the spring. Melky Mesa will run it down. Brian is digging for two, and he slides in safely. So he turned on it, pulls it down the line, and a one-out double for Brian Roberts.
Well, he's a double machine. Talking before the game, he said, listen, I just got to get back on the field. I got to stay healthy. And remember, this is 2 strikes. Can you cut your swing down? A little hanging breaking ball. You don't want to do that if you're Nuno, but he does. And then quick bat over the bag. Routine ground ball, except the ball, the reason it's up in the zone allows him to get to it. Now you got a guy in scoring position for the heart of your lineup.
Nick Markakis, lefty versus lefty. Check swing, and it's down and in, 1-0. Markakis making his second start in the 3 spring games, and he has DH'd each time. Buck Showalter, knowing that Nick will be the starting right fielder on opening day, taking advantage of getting a look at others who are in the race for a backup role on this team. And there's a strike.
Well, this kid throws a lot of strikes, and for Joe Girardi, you're looking at a young left-hander. You saw the 27 walks. That's part of pitching, where you weren't afraid to actually challenge him.
Brian Roberts dancing off, and there's a ball.
Well, welcome to the big leagues. Again, Brian was saying, I don't know if I can steal 50 bases. But again, if I can steal 25 to 30, make them timely, something he's always been able to do. And right there, just the feint of faking the third base. And I know what it feels like, because Amos Otis, Campaneris, some of the great Ricky Hendersons would do that. And boy, it's easy to move, and that's what he did.
Markakis fouls it back, so 1-2 as Vidal Nuno gets ahead.
You know, it's early in the spring, Jim, but one of the numbers that Buck Showalter talks about is how often with runners at third base and less than 2 outs can you as a team get them in. 57% for the Orioles. That number needs to get a little bit better. Here's an opportunity. Infield back except at third base.
Breaking ball and a called strike 3. Nicely thrown on the outside corner. Markakis is out. And the first strikeout for Nuno, 2 away.
Take a look again. Gardner moving from left to center. Rivera in right, Mesa in left, and then around the infield. Teixeira, of course, their Gold Glove first baseman. Cervelli. Russell Martin now a Pirate. So they're going to have to figure out who's going to do the bulk of the catching. Chris Stewart, another guy that will be in line, along with Francisco Cervelli to catch.
Adam Jones, a breaking ball for a strike. Adam making his second start. He will remain with the Orioles until Sunday, and then he will join Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. The American team will train in Arizona. Hard hit ball and a foul ball down the line. 0-2 on Adam. He is very excited to represent the United States in the World Baseball Classic.
And if you ask him how he is, again, accelerated his, I guess, the mindset, the physical part of getting ready earlier than you normally would, because normally you'd be getting ready for Tampa on April 2nd. He said just, a little more intensely in the workouts. You can see it in batting practice because he knows he's going to have some really big at-bats. Really looking forward to representing the United States.
Towards left center field, that ball's a gapper. That's going to get down for a base hit. Roberts will score as Gardner runs it down. And Adam Jones heading to second base. He has an RBI 2-out double. So there's that big 2-out base hit. You look forward, get in the habit. And Adam Jones with his first spring RBI gives the Orioles the lead.
Well, Rivera couldn't do it for the Yankees off of Mattis. Jones does it off of Nuno. And this is, again, if you look at all of Adams' numbers, batting average up, home runs up, RBIs down from the year before by 3 or 4 because hit over 300 with runners in scoring position. 2011, last year it dipped to 254. So there's room for improvement. Nice way to get it started here in 2013 spring training.
And Jones in scoring position for Matt Reeders, who will bat from the right side. Fastball right there, and it's 0-1. Reeders, of course, a big year last year, and it's amazing as much as he catches, how he does better at the plate as the year goes on, especially in September. For some reason in his young career, September has always been his best month.
Well, he's very talented. He's very smart. He is certainly a lot stronger now because he knows what the rigors of not only catching in the big leagues, but catching in Baltimore with all the heat and humidity. So, again, he has really amped up his ability and did lead the American League in games caught. And this is his good side.
Yep.
Hit 323 last year. Of course, the year before, in about 122 at bats, hit over 300, hit 12 home runs, 11 home runs, almost one every 11 at bats. So the numbers with home runs went down, but the average stayed pretty much the same hitting from this side.
Adam Jones at second with 2 down. RBI double for Adam. Of course, the Yankees last year beat out the Orioles for the AL East title by 2 games. And Wieters fouls it back. To give you an idea of where the players are at this point in spring training, Matt Wieters at the plate. He started the first game the other day, so that was February 23rd. And when Buck Showalter took him out of the game, Wieters was sitting on the end of the bench, and he looked exhausted. And Buck went over to him and said, "You okay?" He goes, "Buck, I'm in the best shape of my life. I came into camp in the best shape of my life. I've just played 5 innings, and I am totally gassed." And it's a difference. You get back on the field, you put the cleats on, and there's a strike recalled, and it's a different game, and that's why these games down here are so important. 2-out RBI double by Adam Jones. We'll head to the second. The Birds with a 1-0 lead. Well, back in Sarasota, yep, you can have a cheeseburger at the ballpark. It is a gorgeous day. Everybody in shorts and golf shirts and T-shirts, baseball hats. 80-plus degrees here in Sarasota today. Another lovely day for the Orioles and spring training in their beautiful home here at Ed Smith Stadium. Showalter's club looking to improve on next year. He was asked before the game by Richard Justice, who is a national baseball writer, about everybody nationally is saying, Buck, you can't win all those games by 1 run again. You can't win all those extra inning games. What about that? And Buck said, well, you know what? That fits us. We're all about that, so thank you for saying that. And he said he told his players, the biggest liars in sports are those guys that say, they say. Who are they?
Well, you're right. I mean,
that's a good point.
That's kind of the universal question. Who is they? And he will, if you walk into his office, he's got it. Really the 5 teams in the American League East with their rosters, what the salaries are. 218 for the Yankees, 180 for the Red Sox, 132 for the Blue Jays, 68 for the Rays, 98 for the Orioles, what their players are, blah blah blah. And he says all we got to do is beat those other 4 teams, and that's the mission that they have. And when you start looking, I mean, obviously, the important things, if you look at Cervelli, who's going to step in for the Yankees, is I look at the one thing: bullpen's terrific, defense is terrific, the second and home runs. The big question: can the starting pitching get better? And that's why these are important games, even though it's early for a guy like Brian Mattis, because he might be the guy that went 7-1 his last 8 decisions in 2010. Not the guy that went 1-9 the next year, and last year really struggled because he's in better shape, he's in a better frame of mind. This is a very competitive camp. All the things that winning ball clubs have when you go to spring training. There are no free lunches here if you play for Buck Showalter's team. You're going to have to earn your way onto this club, especially if you're a young pitcher.
1-1 to Cervelli is bounced to third. Manny Machado, a tough hop, stays with it and guns it across, and Cervelli retired and 1 away.
3-4 years ago, if you looked around your Oriole team, you would say, well, are the guys in the other cities in your division better? And you would pretty much go around the whole field with a couple of exceptions, maybe Marquez and maybe Adam Jones in center field. Now you can say, well, would you trade your shortstop Hardy for any other shortstop in your division? You'd probably say no. And then you go to second base if Brian Roberts is healthy. You can go right around the field, and all of a sudden you have some of the premier players in your division. And that's an upgrade, something that the Orioles couldn't talk about years ago. except if we were playing in my era, and then we seemed like we had an all-star team.
You're pretty good. Yeah. Outside to Melky Mesa, who was a September call-up for the Yankees last year, 26 years old. Broken bat pop-up, Roberts will call. And Davis lets him have it in 2 away.
Yeah, that's what we saw when Mark Reynolds moved across the field. How many times did we see him go right in front of the second baseman? Because, Chris last year, he started as the third baseman. He struggled along with Reynolds, along with Bettamy. All of a sudden, he became a DH, ended up hitting 33 home runs. So, you want to go get the balls, but you also have to understand. It's kind of like playing right field or left field with Adam Jones. He's out there. Let him catch it.
Here's the veteran Dan Johnson in camp with the Yankees. And there's a strike on the inside corner. Well, Brian Mattis, his fastball command here is pretty good. And Buck Showalter reminded the reporters yesterday after the game in Dunedin that Jair Jurgen started that game for the Orioles and went 2 innings. That this early, in particular, first time on the mound, Mattis' first time on the mound today facing hitters in a real game, the fastball is always ahead of the secondary pitches. So you'll float some breaking balls. Sometimes you'll snap off a good one. But the fastball command is what comes first.
And that's usually what carries you through the day over the course of the season. So probably work on a little bit more. You want to see how the ball comes out of your hand. That's a baseball phrase. Jurgens, I talked to him. I talked to Jared today. He had 93 yesterday, and he felt good. He certainly knows he can be better with his ancillary pitches. The slider wasn't particularly sharp. But again, he's very much like Brian Roberts. He just has to get on the mound. That says Brian have to play second base. Yeah, Dan Johnson, he comes out of that Oakland organization. Of course, he hit the big home run when it all came together for all the teams. He hit the home run against the Yankees to tie for the Jays 2 years ago. Last year played in the White Sox and had another great year at AAA, 28 home runs, high on-base percentage, as he always does. Terrific guy at the plate.
There's a breaking ball missing inside. Brian is still only 26 years old, even though it's his 5th season, so he still certainly has a future. And the question for the immediate future on this team is, where is that future? Is it in the rotation, or is it in the bullpen where he excelled last year? And there's a ball hit towards the middle. Hardy on the broken bat plays it to first, and a 3-up, 3-down inning. So real nice inning for Brian Mattis as he pitches 2 scoreless so far. Mid-second, 1-0 O's. Nice crowd at Ed Smith Stadium as the Orioles and Yankees play springtime baseball. As these two teams, AL East rivals, will see quite a bit of each other this year. Even with the difference in the schedule, don't forget 15 teams in each league now, the Astros and American League team. And there is Vidal Nuno, 25 years old. He was drafted by the Cleveland Indians in the 48th round of 2009. And after a season and a half, they just released him. They didn't think he had a future. He went to an independent league, and then he signed with the Yankees, and here he is in spring training as J.J. Hardy will lead off when he takes a pitch low, 1-0. And Pleasure to welcome in the skipper of the Baltimore Orioles, Buck Showalter. And Buck, this early in camp,
Jim, how you doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
How's the weather?
It's beautiful. How's it down there?
How's the scoreboard?
Scoreboard's great.
1-0. Good guys.
As you look at your team this early in these games, what is it you're looking for?
Well, you know, Jim, this is a whole different dynamic this year with the WGC. You know, we're trying not to get too far ahead of ourselves. There's two things that go on here that you have to guard against. That's that positive feeding frenzy and the negative feeding frenzy. And somewhere in between the truth lies. So, you know, you can't tell them one thing and then do another. So just trusting your players. You know, these guys know what they got to do and try to get into a routine and a program. Hold them to serve it. I think Chris Davis would be shocked at a hit and run.
We got the scoop.
No, it's not. Trust me.
Well, I mean, I know you're not going to send J.J. Hardy since he didn't steal a base last year.
Well,
not this early.
That will change, but don't tell anybody.
Okay. Hey, the significance of is there any Brian Mattis starting today? I mean, is he going to get an opportunity to maybe pitch multiple innings on more occasions as the spring training progresses?
Yeah, Jimmy, I think we're going to try to position ourselves to go both ways. You know, one thing we have some depth, and knock on wood, and we want to position ourselves as we go forward to make good decisions about best way that we can present ourselves. And Brian's capable of doing both, and so far so good. He's going to get innings. He's going to be extended, and we'll see where the competition takes us.
Yeah, he talked about establishing a two-seamer and a changeup, and he was able to do that in the first inning. Got the double play on a good changeup, and then got the clutch out of Rivera. Yeah,
and double play's a friend. You know, you didn't have to throw many, Jimmy. You had that high fastball and that 6-12 hammer. You know, we could all teach him like you. You know, we'd go back to the mom and dad. Those genes were pretty good.
Definitely.
You had a pretty good plane, didn't you?
Well, the genealogy of your young pitchers isn't too bad in this camp either.
Exactly. You know, if I got a choice, I'd love to spend some time with the moms and dads, because then I get a pretty good idea of what we're dealing with.
Buck, you were talking before the game with the reporters and talking about the number of players in camp, 61, and you said, well, you do the math. There's only 25 that could go north. But from your perspective, that's really a good situation. Well,
from my perspective, one is which, and I see 61. I know you do the math. I know exactly how many tough conversations I got to have with somebody. Just from a selfish standpoint, but we're in a position to have better conversations with our players because of the precedent we set before. This was a destination that a lot of guys wanted to come because of opportunity. We do offer opportunity, and they realize that we're trying to win every game, and if we can present ourselves better, it's not like somebody's looking over their shoulder and saying, boy, if I don't get somebody out here, I'm getting sent down. It's there's a level of expectation, consistent expectations that not just we have, but our players had.
And the other aspect that really came to light last year is how you and Dan Duquette and the minor league staff all work in unison to have players ready just in case. And so many times there was a call-up maybe for a game because you need to get through that game so you don't extend the bullpen. And that's a mindset and a winning mindset that this organization has.
Well, we got great morale going on right now because everybody knows how important their job is, not only players but staff members. And then you guys have seen, you're sitting in Seattle and you're playing a 16-inning game and you've really extended your bullpen. You got a day game the next day, then you come back to East Coast or have an off day. A lot of teams, say, hey, hang in there, get through tomorrow. But it doesn't mean that pitcher that pitches the next day. It just covers you. We don't have to extend people. One of the things I was most proud of last year was the health of our bullpen, because we never got in a position where we had to extend them into an area that put them in harm's way. And a lot of that had to do with getting deeper into games with our starting pitching. There are no roles in the bullpen if you're spitting a bit in the third inning 3 nights in a row.
And Buck, finally, as Connor Jackson called out on strikes for the second out, we've seen Adam Jones really become a leader. Markakis is a leader. Matt Wieters is a leader. You have guys that are the gamers. Having the playoff experience last year, we hear that term in baseball, they need to learn how to win. Are you seeing a difference in their attitude, their demeanor as a group in this camp?
Well, I'm not one of those guys that says this always means this is going to happen. This is set in stone. If that happened last year, and it only bodes well. We hope so. I think sometimes you got to understand what it takes to lose before you understand what it takes to win. And, when you have a group that's had their nose bloody together, they certainly share. They know the commitment it takes to get to the postseason and a chance to roll the dice. It's a group that's very easy to trust and get out of the way of. There's a quiet, workmanlike approach here. But I tell you one thing, strike three, it's early. but it's never too late, right? Let's go.
Well, Buck, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck along the way. A long way to go.
I tell you, every time I come on with you guys, that wasn't too pretty there. All right, thanks for having me. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Buck. 3 strikeouts in the inning, 1-0 O's. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by Sarasota. There's so much to see and do in Sarasota on Florida's Gulf Coast. Go beyond the stadium to the #1 beach in the USA. Visit numberonebeach.com. The beautiful beach over at Siesta Key in Sarasota. Yep, you fly in the summer when you come down here. And we have a new pitcher. Brian Mattis goes 2 strong innings, and here is Tommy Hunter for his 2nd spring appearance.
Yeah, there's the number 4-8 record last year as a starter with a very high ERA, and then sent to the minor leagues. Worked on his windup, came back throwing 95 to 100, hit 100 up in Boston. So totally different guy. Strikeouts went from 4.8 per 9 innings to almost 9, 1 an inning. So again, a totally different guy, and it looks like his role on this Orioles staff will be in the bullpen. And boy, he was a totally different pitcher, power guy coming out of the pen.
He pitched in the game on Saturday here, so his 2nd appearance.
Yeah, it was a kind of all over the place, which can happen in spring training.
Gil Velasquez batting for the Yankees in the 3rd. Roller and Gardner will follow. Gil Velasquez is 33 years old. He has spent 15 years in the minor leagues. Parts of only 4 seasons in the bigs. Jim, he has played 1,380 games in the minor leagues. There's a guy who doesn't want to give up on his dream.
No, well, and you get guys like that, and they're very happy doing it. They think they're still going to get that break.
There's a tapper and a foul ball that hit him in the box before he got out of the box. Wieters disagrees, talking with Toby Basner, the home plate umpire. Thought he might have been outside of the box. If so, he would have been out, but the foul ball called.
Yeah, you got to try to get the call if you can, and that's what. Take a look, and see, and he's still in the box, at least from that angle it appeared. That's what the umpire thought. Another step or so, he would have been out.
Well, Tommy Hunter, who, by the way, is out of options, so his fate determined by that. Very often you'll see him with as Buck Showalter mentioned when we chatted with him, with so many more positive options in this camp. So many times, whether or not they can be sent to the minors determines who stays and who goes, especially if it's an even competition.
Well, you're right. But again, if you look at the starting staff for the Orioles in early 2012, Arrieta was on that staff. He would go 3-9. Mattis, as you mentioned, would go 5-10. Hunter would go 4-7. Yet they still won 93 games, and all 3 of them went to the minor leagues, came back in the bullpen. They worked on their mechanics, really good attitude. A little looper right there for a base hit, and they became better pitchers, and they helped the Orioles get to the postseason.
Yep, no doubt about it. That's a great experience. Brian Mattis joins us now from the Orioles bullpen. And Brian, real good, solid outing today. How'd you feel?
Oh, it felt good, Jim. It's nice to get the first one out of the way. And, just get out there, get a feel, and try to get in that rhythm again.
Well, you talked about using your changeup in the two-seamer. You got me a little nervous, but then you made a great pitch with a changeup. In fact, both times in the first inning to get out of trouble.
Yeah, it's nice to get that changeup back working again. And, Manny made some good plays. Turned a double play. B-Rob turned it well, and Chris made a nice pick over there at first. So it's nice to have that pitch back and hopefully continue to work on it and keep it going.
Brian, this early in camp, this your first appearance, fastballs, I guess, are obviously ahead. How long does it take for you to get the feel for the off-speed pitches, the secondary pitches?
Oh, that takes a little bit of time. For me, everything comes off the fastball. So, first 3 outings, I like to get the fastball and changeup established, and then get the feel for that curve and slider. It's a little bit behind right now, but still have plenty of time.
We talked to Buck Showalter after your outing, and he said that he is going to stretch you out. How do you feel about that chance of maybe getting multiple innings and maybe becoming a starter again?
Oh, I feel great about it. I've been a starter my whole life, and that's been a goal for me coming in the spring this year is to be able to get back in good shape, good form, to be a starter, be able to get stretched out, and try to save the bullpen.
Brian, you did an outstanding job last year, as Jim mentioned, when you went back to the minors and then came back to the team and excelled in the bullpen. When you look back on that experience, obviously, if everything went well, you'd stay in the rotation. That's what you like. But what do you believe you learned from that, and how can that help you going forward?
For me, it was the time of the season where our starters were doing well, and had the opportunity to be a reliever and help the team and be a part of something special. And that's something I'll cherish for the rest of my life. Being able to pitch in the postseason and relieve, and it's just something else to experience. And for me, I'm happy to have the opportunity to be a starter again, and that's my focus, and just roll with it.
Well, you showed me your abs in the locker room. You're not going. Are you going to the beach now? I mean, now that I know you're going to run.
Do we need to know this?
Well, no. Hey, this is Sarasota. They have great beaches everywhere. I know you'll go run with Brady, who's really gotten you in great shape, and then you'll head for the beach. Is that what the plan is?
No doubt. Head out to the beach, maybe get on some jet skis, get out on the water a little bit.
Now, how about pole boarding or whatever they were talking about yesterday? Have you tried that yet?
No, I haven't paddleboard before. But I like to. I hear it's a good workout, good core workout. So. Jim, maybe you and I will have to go out sometime and try.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
I would love to see that. Now, Brian, is it difficult to keep up with Brady in those workouts?
Oh, yeah. It's tough. Brady and I and a bunch of the guys, we get after it and, try to get stronger, faster, and that's the goal. So, this game isn't easy. So it's nice to be able to go out there, work hard, and be able to see good results out there on the field.
And with all these players with this competition, it's got to be good for you knowing you're part of that competition.
Oh, no doubt. We have 10 or 12 starters that are qualified to be in this rotation. So it's a battle, but it makes it fun for all of us in spring to push each other and work hard and make that a good competition.
Well, Brian, congratulations on a successful first outing. We appreciate the visit. Keep it going.
All right, Jim. Thanks a lot.
That's Brian Mattis joining us from the bullpen. And here's the starting supply, as we're calling it. Out of this group, 5 will go north. And if you look at what Buck Showalter said as camp began, Miguel Gonzalez, Jason Hamill, Wei-Yin Chen, and Chris Tillman, we believe, are in the rotation unless they pitch their way out of it. So, Jim, of all those other names, there's one spot open.
Yep. Well, a lot. I told Buck last week I was in for Jim Johnson has a Miracle League golf tournament. I said, you ever have too much pitching? And he just rolled his eyes at me, and he said, the answer to that question. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of talent, a lot of power arms, something they didn't have a couple of years ago. And the other thing, and you alluded to when you talked to Brian, is a lot of competition.
Well, Dylan Bundy and Kevin Gausman likely will begin the year, probably at Double-A Bowie as teammates, but the way Gausman looked yesterday, and Bundy had a pretty good outing here in his debut on Saturday, you never know. Dan Duquette has been asked a few times, a couple of times by me, still hasn't answered me, but I said, well, what happens if you're in the last week and they're still in competition for this team? And he said, well, that's a good thing.
Well, it really is a good thing, but it also gives you an option if the other pitchers pitch well, which they're certainly capable of doing. So you can send them back to the minor leagues, have plenty of options, they can get some experience, and you can bring them up if you need them, which is exactly the way it happened last year. If you look at the first 5 starters, I think their record was something like 36 and 45. And then the Tillmans, the Steve Johnsons, the Miguel Gonzalez's were 32 and 13. Defense got a lot better. Starting pitching got a lot better. Home runs were consistent all year long, 214 of them.
And the one name on that list that fans might not have recognized as that ball floats inside and high, 2-2 on Knicks with first and second and one down. T.J. McFarland, a left-hander. He was acquired from the Indians in the Rule 5 draft. So very much like Ryan Flaherty last year, he must make this team or be put through waivers and offered back to the Indians. And Dan Duquette really likes McFarland. He is a sinker ball left-handed pitcher. That ball's pulled down the line, and that is foul.
Yeah, a little luck there. Trying to go up and in, and the count's still in your favor where the pressure's on the hitter. It's not like you have to throw a strike. Runners at first and second, still a pitch to work with. Yeah, Tommy Hunter, when you look at his windup, he the toughest pitch for him, because that front knee kind of opens very quickly. He's much better away to right-handers. Getting in on him is tough for him because the front shoulder flies a little bit. But again, the velocity got so much better. But it's something he has all spring to work on. How do I get right-handed hitters out?
2-2. Velasquez the bloop single, Gardner the bunt single. And he got him. Was a fastball by him. So big strikeout for Tommy Hunter, his second in the inning, and 2 down.
Yeah, you're hoping the hitter's going to be a little bit nervous. He'll expand the strike zone, and that's what Tommy's able to do. 92. This one gets all the way to 94 miles per hour, up and away. A nice little 2-strike pitch.
It was Tommy, still only 26 years old, as Matt Diaz will step in, bounced into a double play his first at bat. One thing is certain, the AAA Norfolk Tides pitching staff is going to be pretty good because all of the pitchers in this camp cannot fit on this roster. As Jim mentioned before, there are 29 in camp, and Buck Showalter was asked before the game, well, you have some depth in certain areas. Are you looking to go elsewhere? And he said, no, we look at it right now as our team will come from these 61. We're looking internally. We're coveting our players, not others' players. Now, that doesn't mean in a couple of weeks Dan Duquette might get a call from somebody and the thinking might change. But if you have a surplus and you have a quality surplus, then you're in the driver's seat.
And again, because of the length of spring training, the scouts are going to get to see the Oriole pitchers pitch a lot of innings.
Here's the 0-2 to Diaz, hit towards Brian Robert sharply. A funny hop, but Brian plays it, and he'll get it to first. So Tommy Hunter in a jam, but pitches out of it. We'll head to the bottom of the third, and Sarasota, the Birds, with a 1-0 lead. Have a 1-0 lead as we head to the third on the RBI double by Adam Jones. And we're talking about pitching depth. And here's one of the pitchers trying to make an impression. There he is. Look at him, 22 years old, and he's in the big leagues and big league camp. Kevin Gausman joins us, last year's #1 pick. And Kevin, I was thinking before the game, last year at this time you're pitching for LSU, Southeastern Conference baseball, good. But here you are in a big league camp. What does it mean to you, and how does it feel?
Yeah, it's definitely really exciting, something that I've wanted to do for my entire life. And, yesterday, my first outing was something that was definitely a highlight in my life.
96, 97? On the radar gun. There was no adrenaline running. I was reading the article today, and I said my first was when I was 19, and I'm sure I overthrew a little bit. What did it feel like?
Yeah, I was pretty amped up. I started warming up the 5th inning. I thought I was going to go in maybe the 6th, and actually didn't end up going in until the 8th. So that was something a little different for me because obviously I'm a starter, so I had to get used to that. But, I felt great. I had adrenaline pumping, and it was just fun to get out there.
Brian Mitchell is now on for the Yankees. He'll face Nolan Rymel. Kevin Gausman is chatting with us. And Kevin, one of the things about your outing yesterday that was very impressive, there's a slow bouncer to second. And next we'll get it to first to get the hustling Rymel. The very first batter you face in your very first spring training game, you allow a walk on a pitch that maybe missed by an inch. And I'm exaggerating that it was that far. It could have been called a strike 3 very easily. But yet later on in your second inning, you still went back inside. You have to have the confidence to pitch that way.
Yeah, definitely, and especially in pro ball. College and high school, you're taught to kind of just paint away. And, when you get in pro ball, you have to pitch on the inside half. And if you're not going to be able to do that, then you're just not going to be successful.
Rick Adair, who was the Orioles Major League pitching coach, along with Bill Castro, the bullpen coach, talks about your maturity. Can you kind of explain what college led to that? I mean, you got Dylan Bundy, who's maybe 2 years younger, but didn't go to college. What did the college experience do for you?
Yeah, I think it helped me in so many aspects of my life, not just baseball, but just kind of maturing off the field and knowing what I need to do in and out to be ready for a game, having my schedule and my routine when I start. All that just kind of came with time in college, and obviously the level that I played at definitely helped me and prepared me for the next level also.
Brian Roberts goes deep against the wall, and he's hustling towards second base. So Roberts 2 for 2 with a couple of doubles, and he's at second with one man down. Well, Kevin, so much is out of your control. We don't know where you will begin the year, but the thing about this organization, about Showalter mentioned it before the game, it's about opportunity. As long as you have that, that is in your control.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just going to go out there and kind of focus on getting better every day. And like you said, I have no control on that, so I'm just going to work and try to get better at the things I need to work at and just kind of get better every day. And that's obviously up to them.
Well, Kevin, we appreciate the visit. 22 years old in the big league camp, and a real nice first outing yesterday. We appreciate it. Thanks so much, and continued success in the camp.
All right, thanks, Jim.
That's Kevin Gausman. What a fine young man he is. I just enjoyed talking to him, and he looked really, really good yesterday.
Yeah, they love his stuff. They love the attitude. They love the whole package. And, of course, he's not the only guy. I mean, Dylan Bundy right up there in that conversation. Both of them #1 draft choices the last 2 years, respectively.
There's a bloop towards left center field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Brian Roberts run it all the way. He will easily score. Sent home by Bobby Dickerson. And Markakis with an RBI hit. His first hit of the spring drives in a run. 2-0 O's.
Now, they always talk about the blast and then the bloop. And Brian Roberts takes advantage of the wind. The one thing about Sarasota, most of the time the wind blows out to left field, so he doubles over the left fielder's head. Little curveball. But again, ideally, if you're Brian Mitchell, you want it away. It's inside. Nick just fights it off, dumps it into left field. Orioles lead 2-0.
So Markakis drives in his good friend Brian Roberts. And how about Brian in this game? He's a table setter. He has been on base twice. He has scored twice.
That's his job.
And here is Mr. Jones, who drove in a run with a double his first at-bat. And that is inside and 1-0. Adam is very excited for the coming season, not only because he thinks the Orioles have a chance and a good chance to get back to the playoffs. He is on the verge of becoming a full-time Baltimore resident. He just bought a home in Baltimore, and he's going to close on it in about a week and a half. And then he'll be able to move in once spring training is over and he gets back north as Markakis goes, and a chopper towards third, and that is a fair ball. Johnson gets it to first, and out in an eyelash is Adam Jones. So Markakis to second base with 2 men down. Well, fans, Orioles partial season plans are on sale, and It's your only chance to purchase tickets to the most anticipated opening day in recent memory. Partial season plan holders enjoy a host of exclusive orange carpet benefits, including substantial savings over the cost of single game tickets, insider access, and more. So act now and lock in the best seats for the best games in 2013. 888-848-BIRD, or if you prefer, just go online at Orioles.com. Well, Adam Jones hustling as he always does. Markakis the second for Wieters. There is a buzz around Baltimore, Jim. I know you were there for FanFest, but anywhere you go, you see Oriole hats, you see Oriole jerseys, people talking about the team. They can't wait for opening day in Baltimore. This team really turned on the city with its run last year.
As did the Ravens, winning the Super Bowl.
Off the end of the bat, this is going to be a tough play, but Mesa in on it. It hangs, and he makes the grab for the out. So a couple of hits and the RBI single by Nick Markakis. Wieters down. We'll into the fourth. 2-0 O's. Well, Buck Showalter talked about opportunity and depth, and a big step today for one of the pitchers trying to make his way towards the major leagues, Jim. Tsuyoshi Wada, a bullpen session for the first time.
Yeah, again, he was thrown off the half mounds, in other words, a lower mound for a couple of times. And then, of course, we saw him in the end of last season, came down to Tampa Bay, had been rehabbing all summer long. He actually apologized to Buck Showalter for hurting the ligament in his elbow, which they repaired. So usually takes anywhere from a year to 18 months. Kind of a finesse left-hander. I still remember watching him and Wei and Chen, both of the left-handers acquired last year. Chen a little bit harder thrower. But then again, last spring, and this is what, Buck, all you have to do is impress him one time, especially if you're a veteran like Wada is. He said, we saw that little extra and that great changeup, and that's the future of Wada for the Orioles. So hopefully he'll come back. Again, the bullpen's so good last year. Pedro Strop, such a major part of it. Did struggle with his control from about a little bit past the middle of August to the end of the season. But very glowing numbers. You can see the 37 walks, a little bit high for 66 in the third innings.
Well, Pedro making his first appearance in a game in the spring. He is another of the Orioles players that will be heading out. He will pitch for the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic.
Well, the good news is that he's taken his bullpen coach with him. Bill Castro is going to go down, and he will be the pitching coach for the Dominican.
And believe me, Buck Showalter is thrilled about that because Bill Castro will be able to keep an eye on him. Tony Pena is the manager of the Dominican team. There's a high fly ball hit off the bat of Juan Rivera. Raimo battling the sun and the wind. He'll get there. And the Orioles bullpen last year, a main reason, a big reason why they were so successful, Jim. And you look at these numbers, and that's why they got there.
Well, they did. And again, we talked about the 29-9 record in one-run games, 25-14 in two-run games, 16 straight extra inning wins. And you're going to win the close games if you have a good bullpen. And then again, the one thing, if you have a good bullpen and you also have a good defense, something that happened when Machado came up, all of a sudden you win the close games, and the Orioles were the best team in baseball doing that last year.
Francisco Cervelli, hard hit ball off the glove of Strop. It slows down. Roberts will flip it to first, and 2 quick outs recorded by Pedro Strop.
Yeah, what happens with Pedro, and when we got him at the, talking about the Orioles in 2011, he was part of the Michael Gonzalez trade, the left-handed reliever that went down to Texas. I'm going, how'd we ever get this arm? But he had a history of being wild. And what happens is power arm, great slider. He'll throw it in any count. Sinker that can go anywhere from 94 to 98. But the front side flies open, and he doesn't sink it up with the bottom. And that's what he's going to have to keep working on. And you can see when you go left, it's very hard to get the ball down in the zone. And his great strength is to throw the ball on the ground, very much like Jim Johnson. And that two-seam fastball has great velocity and great sink when he stays closed. There's the slider. It doesn't matter what the count is. He'll throw it anytime.
Wally Bell says he checked in time. Now, the other thing about Pedro Strop that we must keep in mind is, even though he is 27 and turns 28 in June, the first 4 years of his pro career he spent as an infielder in the Rockies organization. So, you don't make excuses at all for a big league pitcher. He certainly has the arm and the ability to get big league hitters out, but he still is a work in progress.
Well, he is. He only had 242 innings in the minor leagues. And again, the most he ever had in one season was 54, and that was his first year after, again, he was a kind of a middle infielder, second baseman, shortstop.
2-1 on Milky Mesa, who's 0 for 1. Can't catch up to it. 94 on the stadium gun.
But again, the one thing with Pedro is, the velocity doesn't tell you the whole story if you're a hitter. When you have good velocity and movement, which is what Pedro has, boy, then it becomes very tough. There's a backup slider. I'm not sure I would start open when I have trouble staying closed, but that's the way the windup is. You can see, when I mean open, that front shoulder is kind of over by first base. Let's see if he kind of tucks it. There it is, that little tuck.
And the breaking ball misses. So Wieters went back to it and a 2-out walk. It was Colorado that converted Pedro to a pitcher. That was in 2006, but they didn't think he had any future despite the arm, and he was released in 2008. And that's when Nolan Ryan and the Rangers saw him, and they felt, well, you don't teach the arm. You can teach everything else, but you can't teach that. And it was in Texas where he earned his way and got on the radar, and that's where the Orioles got him. He technically was the player to be named later for Michael Gonzalez when he went to Texas, but it was one of those moves where the Rangers told the Orioles, if nobody claims him, we'll put him on waivers. You go ahead and take him. There's a bouncer towards first, and that is foul. Davis gloves.
Yeah, Joe Girardi's happy, though, because that 2-out walk gets Dan Johnson, even though this is the kind of ballpark, especially today, where you can get an extra base hit that can score a run, but hard to go deep if you're left-handed because of the wind. The wind gusting. It's almost a gale. It's going to help me get back to West Palm Beach after the game. It's blowing in the same direction I'll be driving.
No speeding.
No, never do that.
There's Old Glory in left center field. It is always windy in the spring games. You just can't get away from it. Foul back. Well, Showalter was talking about it the other day, and he said, it's not like we don't have wind in the regular season, but what we have in the regular season is big stadiums with third decks that block some of it. Here in Fort Lauderdale, you don't have anything that blocks the wind, and as a result, especially in the outfield, it's just wide open.
Sarasota.
Beautiful palm trees. What did I say?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, sorry.
Closer to my house.
Freudian slip.
We're moving back.
No, let's hope not.
No.
This is too beautiful.
Oh, this is a beautiful complex. Also for people that want to come down and watch Oriole baseball. I mean, Sarasota, a lot to do in this. Great restaurants, great beaches, and the culture if you want to go to the opera at night, the plays. I know you'll be taking that in over the course of this spring training.
The thing that I learned last night is if I want to know where the good restaurants are, I should just hang out with you, because you took me to an area of this town I had never seen, and there were like 17 of them.
You mean like Main Street?
Yeah, Main Street.
It was really tough.
I had no idea it existed. It's really nice. See, you taught me something. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and a called strike 3 on the inside corner. So Wieters working inside with Strop. Gets the call there. A 2-out walk, 1 left. Mid-fourth. 2-0 O's. Well, back here in Sarasota, and the Orioles this season will wear the patch to remember Earl Weaver, the Hall of Fame manager who passed away the morning of FanFest, ironically enough, on the cruise that he loved so much that went on every year. And just a sad, sad day for the Orioles organization. I know, Jim, he meant so much to you in your career and in your life. And the Orioles here in Sarasota, and again, once they get home, they will honor number 4 in the memory of Earl Weaver all season long.
About 18,000 people at FanFest for the Orioles, and it seemed like almost all of them came up and kind of talked to me about our loss, my loss, and I said, well, it's really our loss, because I think it was such a tremendous year. Buck Showalter, along with Brady Anderson, who was he's now the VP. He's one of the vice presidents of player development. But the one thing Buck did so much for Earl last year is make him feel part of the organization. He invited him to spring training. He was already planning on coming a couple of times. So, I think Earl actually had to spend the last year of his life with the statues. He was really thrilled about doing it. He said, what does an 82-year-old guy do? I can't play golf anymore. So he really enjoyed coming back to Baltimore and seeing this generation of fans.
Strike one to J.J. Hardy, a new pitcher on for the Yankees, as right-hander Corey Black deals down and away. There are his numbers last year in the minors. He's just 21 years old, was drafted just last June in the 4th round at the Faulkner University. And getting a look today, breaking ball misses down and in. You talk about Buck and Earl here in spring training, and our colleague Fred Maffrey rode with Fred yesterday over to Dunedin to watch the team, and Fred was on the cruise with Earl. He went every year. And Fred said just a couple of days before they were talking about the upcoming spring training. A chopper towards short. Velasquez will get it to first to get Hardy and 1 down. And Fred said that Earl was so excited that Buck had already called him, and he was scheduled to make 2 different trips here over the course of spring training to talk to the coaching staff, including talking to the minor league coaches.
Well, I remember at Frank Robinson's statue dedication in late April, Earl was talking to Hank Aaron. He said, they don't want to hear about what we did 30, 40 years ago. And I said, I don't think that's the case, because Buck Showalter would love to have a ball club that had the records and had the intensity and whatever. They're very alike. Buck gets along with the umpires a little bit better. Kenny Singleton, of course, spoke at Earl's funeral. And he said, any umpires here? And he said, I didn't think so. Mainly because Earl had that kind of relationship. But, Earl is very much like Buck, because he makes umpires be better umpires. You better come out and do a good job, or maybe Buck won't do it in the same style. But they had so much alike, and they both love the game, and they both, usually the smartest guys in the room.
Ball 3 to Chris Davis. Well, Buck Showalter, without a doubt, is a traditionalist for baseball. He's very sentimental about the game. He loves the organization, and one of the things that I noticed when I got here the other day, as you walk into the complex where the Orioles clubhouse is, it's a building beyond the right field wall. On the front facade of that building are the pictures of all 6, including you, of the Oriole Hall of Famers. And if nothing says tradition, that does. That when you walk in that building, this is the greatness of our past, and we're trying to continue that in the future. So, and Buck Showalter certainly a part of that. Don't forget about the Orioles 2013 early bird promotion schedule. It's been announced, and now's the time to get your tickets to some of the most popular games of the season. Don't miss returning fan favorites like T-shirt nights, the fireworks nights, and more. Plus, get your tickets now for the fun promotions like Jim Palmer's favorite, the 1983 World Champions Floppy Hat Night, presented by Miller Lite, or how about the Adam Jones Replica Jersey Day? Planned for the summer at Oriole Park, 888-848-BIRD, or online, Orioles.com.
Yeah, with the sun, you need a floppy hat.
Absolutely.
Covers your ears. You put your lures on it when you go fishing.
There's Connor Jackson, who is trying to impress.
Well, again, the one thing that when you look at somebody, can you hit left-handed pitching? Can you play the outfield? Can you play first base? Those things Connor can do. Did have some back problems because he was doing fielding drills and hadn't been doing them in the off season, so but feeling a lot better now. And you can see again for the young pitcher, maybe over-rotating a little bit early. As you mentioned, only 21 years of age, probably trying to throw a little bit harder than he needs to. Know the feeling when you overthrow a little bit.
Well, Joe Girardi on this trip, as we mentioned before, he brought basically non-roster spring training invitees and minor leaguers. So these are your opportunities to show the major league manager what you got. It's game conditions. Of course, it's the third day of spring games, but still, you might not get an opportunity in week 3.
Well, the Yankees are going to make changes. Again, we talked about the fact that they're still going to have a very good pitching staff. Mariano Rivera at age 43 is trying to come back from the knee surgery. Apparently things are going well. But anytime you're 43, you've got to prove. Of course, he has the most saves in the history of baseball. They got Pettit, Andy Pettit, pitching very well last year before he was hit by the line drive. He'll be 41. Sabathia coming off elbow surgery. Kuroda had a terrific year, pitched well in the playoffs.
2-2 on Connor Jackson. And a foul back. Jackson is the third different player to get a start in right field in the first spring games. Nick Markakis played Saturday and today as DH. But Chris Dickerson, who ironically enough was with the Yankees last year and now they need outfielders, but he's with the Orioles now. He started on Saturday. Steve Pearce started in right field yesterday, and today it's Connor Jackson. As Connor Jackson trying to earn his way on this team as a backup because he can also play first base. And somebody's got to make this team as a backup first baseman. There's a bouncer to third. Johnson gets to second, and just in time they get Chris Davis for the second out. We're talking about the battle for the bench, Jim, as we look here. Teagarden is on the team as the backup catcher. We know that. Betemeet likely on the team. And Alexi Casilla, who the Orioles got from Minnesota, he's likely on the team as a backup, provided Brian Roberts earns back his starting spot at second base. But all these other names, that means one player there's a spot available for. And of those players, you have to be able to play first base and the outfield.
Right, and Valencia can do it. Flaherty can do it. Connor Jackson can do it. Steve Pearce can do it. Homer the other day. Dickerson is pretty much an outfielder, but a very astute, talented outfielder, can play any position. And Kenny Singleton came over because he broadcasts for the Yankees. I think he's doing about 13 games this spring. Today's not one of them, but he said, yeah, they could really use Dickerson. And Buck Showalter says, why would you think we want to give him back to the Yankees? It's not in the playbook.
The other part of that is we looked at the potential backups on this team, because you have your 9 starters, including a DH, and then the bench. Somebody also has to back up J.J. Hardy, who plays a lot. He plays pretty much every day. And Ryan Flaherty has played at shortstop twice down here. And, Jim, he has looked phenomenal at shortstop. Last year, he played 1 inning at shortstop all season. But he came up as a shortstop. He was a #1 pick of the Cubs as a shortstop out of Vanderbilt. And he has done everything that the Orioles have asked him to do. And Buck Showalter says he even carries himself differently this year because he has a whole year behind him. He's not the new guy anymore.
Even though he doesn't have to be on the ball club as he did last year. Of course, you had Robert Andino last year, who has since been.
Runner goes, pitch taken low, throw to second, not in time. So stolen base for Connor Jackson.
Easily. Well, again, they time the pitcher, and if he doesn't pay attention, of course, it is a running situation with 2 outs, trying to get a guy into scoring position. Again, this is part of whether it's spring training or the regular season. You don't have a lot of speed, but again, easily makes it because they take advantage of really kind of just a lapse. Nice throw, quick throw, right on the money, but he steals it off of Corey Block.
That'll show the Orioles brass another aspect of his game as Connor Jackson steals second. Jackson at one time was the everyday first baseman in Arizona. And he certainly has some big league experience behind him. 3-1 on Machado, and it's high ball 4, and there's the second walk in the inning. So Black showing some velocity. That one was 93, but no command of that velocity. And then last year got into 12 games. He began in the Gulf Coast League, and then they promoted him to the New York Penn League. The Yankees team in the New York Penn League is on Staten Island. Here's Nate McLeod, who was pinch hitting for Nolan Reimold. So Reimold had 2 at-bats today. And here is Nate, another part of that left field combo.
What he brought, it was clutch hitting, some big home runs and speed, and Gold Glover back in 2008. So if he would play left field on a regular basis, and we assume that'll be the case against right-handed pitching, they're going to have 3 Gold Glovers in the Oriole outfield.
A little late on that swing. And 1-1 the count. Well, Dan Duquette was asked all winter long, and in part because he did make the statement that he had hoped to acquire a middle-of-the-order big bat for this team. And he said, well, yeah, maybe we didn't get that particular guy, but we brought McLeod back. And when you look at what McLeod, as Jim just alluded to, what he did last year, you want to take care of the guys that helped you win. Well, here's one of them. And Dan Duquette made a point to bring him back, and Nate loved playing in Baltimore. They gave him a second chance, and it worked out very well for both. He was released by the Pirates. He went to AAA. Here's a pitch taken for a strike. He totally lost his stroke in Pittsburgh because he wasn't playing a lot.
Hit like, what, a 122, something like that.
And then he went to AAA Norfolk, and Denny Walling, the Tide's hitting coach, worked with him very, very hard, and he got that swing back. And then when Buck Showalter's big league club needed somebody, he was recommended by Ron Johnson, the manager, and here he is. 2-2 is outside, ball 3.
Well, he can help you win so many different ways, and again, you're always looking for that. I mean, when we go back and talk about the Orioles in 2012, this was a team that had only won 69 games the year before. In 2010, when Buck Showalter took over, they had won 17 games the last 2 months, but only one winning month of all of 2011. So he was an upgrade. Defensively, speed-wise, things you're looking for.
Runners go on 3-2. High fly ball, deep right center field. That ball is tagged, and it bounces down. Gardner plays the hop. Jackson scores. Machado all the way around from first. And Nate McLeod with a 2-run double. For the Orioles getting it done today with men out.
Well, you talked about Denny Walling, and what he said was, you got to be a little more aggressive. You're a guy that made the All-Star team that could hit home runs. And right here, he gets the count in his favor, gets a good pitch to hit. It's also the 5th pitch he gets to see. Rock doesn't make a real good pitch, and he's all over it. He is so much a better low ball hitter than high ball hitter. So again, when you're disciplined, especially when you can run the bases, you're always going to get good pitches to hit. Nobody wants to walk you. Maybe a little different situation there with runners on, but he's almost always, especially if he's leading off an inning.
So Nate McLeod, a 2-run double. That brings up Brian Roberts, who is making his second start. Jimmy's having a good game.
Yeah, right here off of Nuno, he hits a high fastball, and then right here takes advantage of the wind. Almost a home run, missed by about maybe 18 inches too. So a double machine, normal year for Brian, 40 to 56 doubles. Back on track.
And among the many reasons why you see different lineups early on in the spring, Buck Showalter has publicly stated that he would prefer not to put J.J. Hardy back in that number 2 spot. He wants him lower in the lineup to better be able to take advantage of his power. So that means somebody has to bat second, and somebody obviously has to bat leadoff. Now, they do have so many contenders for the leadoff spot. Last year, Nick Markakis batted leadoff early in the year. It was Nolan Reimold. Nate McLeod batted leadoff. And, of course, Brian, when he was back for his brief time with the club. But if Brian can bat second, that gives him a switch hitter in that number 2 spot and a guy who can run.
It really does. J.J. Hardy, while a gamer, Gold Glove shortstop, not the ideal number 2 hitter because he doesn't hit the ball the other way.
Right.
Probably would have about a handful of hits to right field last year. So it's hard to move runners if you get a leadoff guy on with J.J.
This ball's pulled right to the second baseman, played by Nix. He'll retire Roberts, and that'll end the inning. But Nate McLeod, a 2-out, 2-run double. We'll head to the 5th on a beautiful Florida day. 4-0 O's.
It's the President's Day event at your local Ford dealer. Yeah, it's time to save big at your local Ford dealer right now. Save your hard-earned money on the Ford that's right for you. That's right.
Fans, the Junior Orioles Dugout Club is Birdland's best value in family entertainment. Kids 14 and under get tickets to 10 games, plus an exclusive club hat. You get a membership card, backpack, and more, and it's all for just $20. Now, members even get exclusive giveaway items at each game, and family and friends can purchase tickets starting as low as $6 with a chance to even upgrade those tickets to the lower deck. Now, to find out more to this very popular club, the Junior Orioles Dugout Club, 888-848-BIRD, or just go online, Orioles.com/dugout. New pitcher on for the Birds, and it's an old friend, Mark Hendrickson, the veteran back in camp with the Orioles.
Yeah, totally different arm angle. Used to be over-the-top curveball, changeup, cutter type of guy. And I talked to him yesterday. I said, how's the dropping down, becoming a sidearmer being? He said, the arm feels good. I've been able to find my arm slot, but my body hurts because it's just a different motion. So we'll see. Again, I said, how about right-handed hitters, which is what he's going to face with Velasquez coming up. And he said, inter-squad games didn't have a problem getting them out. So, again, as you're closing in on 40, you're trying to become a left-handed specialist, where before, I think, Jim, you'd probably say, he could start a little bit, he could do that, but it's a little different job description.
It's the fastball by Velasquez at 84. Nick McLeod now in left field after pinch hitting for Nolan Rimo. All about deception.
Well, it is. And that
is what, 6'9"?
Yeah, 6'9", and he moved from the third base side of the rubber all the way to the first base side. So it's like he's throwing right out of Brian Roberts' jersey, and there you go. Not only did he get him out, he just did it very efficiently.
So a 3-pitch strikeout for Hendrickson, and one away as Velasquez goes down.
So again, it's just a different arm angle. I mean, he's probably now about almost 9:30. If you want to look at a clock, he used to be somewhere around 11:30. So he's dropped 2 hours. I don't know what it did to his miles per hour.
Can you drop age like that?
No, you can't, unless you're from the Dominican.
I'd be interested in learning about that as he deals a strike in there to Kyle Roller.
You either have to be from the Dominican or you have to be Mel Proctor. You never tell anybody how old he is.
See, I don't mind. You are what you are.
Exactly.
Breaking ball bends in there for a strike.
But see, if you had been a ball player,
5 strikes.
If you had been a ball player and you had signed out of high school,
just not at your level,
you can't cheat. Like Davey Leonard, who played for the Orioles, he came out of Hopkins, and in fact, the only major league player that ever went to Hopkins, and they said, tell him you're younger.
Tapper past the mound. Hardy back of the bag. They'll get it across just in time, and 2 men down. So 6 pitches and 2 outs for Hendrickson. Well, this is just the first game that we'll have for you on the spring Grapefruit League action of Orioles baseball. Our next telecast will be Thursday, March the 7th against the Blue Jays, and then the Rays will be here on March the 14th, Minnesota on St. Patrick's Day, and then later on in camp, the Phillies on March 23rd and the Yankees on March 27th. And once again, the Orioles will open their regular season in Tampa. So when they break camp, instead of flying to their destination, they will bus up to St. Petersburg
to face David Price.
Yep. They'll have a workout on April 1st, and Mr. Price awaits them in a 3 o'clock game on April the 2nd. There's Brett Gardner, who takes a strike in the outside corner. See, that's just not fair. If you're Gardner, you're thinking it's the third game of the spring. He's 6'9", and he's painting the outside corner from an angle I've never seen.
Yeah, that's right. He's throwing from behind you. And of course, Brett's been up twice and been on twice. One of them a bunt base hit.
Breaking ball just misses.
Yeah, I met I was talking to him today, as I mentioned, coming off the elbow problems when we talk about Brett Gardner. But I read a story about, I guess 2 winters ago, that he had never worked, all these years, worked on his money. And that's what he spent the winter doing. So, of course, if you're Joe Girardi, you want him to be healthy, you want him to get on. It'll be a different type of offense up in New York until maybe A-Rod gets back somewhere around the All-Star break. But when you lose Swisher, who hit 24 home runs, Martin hit 21, Ibanez hit 19, Andrew Jones hit 12, Chavez hit home runs. A lot of offense out of this lineup.
Breaking ball, defensive swing, and he fouls it off. Well, Mark Hendrickson working on this new release. He did not play last year. The numbers we showed you from 2011. But the one thing that he brings to Rick Adair and this team is experience. He has logged 1,169 major league innings. And as Jim mentioned, as a starter and also as a reliever. There's a liner towards left center field, slicing away from Jones. Gardner's 3 for 3, and he is on with a 2-out single, and he earned it.
Well, again, you go back to what do you do with 2 strikes? We talked about he fights it off. That's exactly what he did. And, of course, the intention is maybe, and again, with his speed, he doesn't always have to be a line drive. I'll get a better pitch to hit. I'll put it in there. And then the ability on a double to score from first, possibly steal a base, even though when you're 4 runs down, you wouldn't expect that to happen.
There's Jason Nix, who has singled in 2 trips, also struck out. Hendrickson is the 4th Oriole pitcher. And there's strike 1, best pitch in baseball, even in spring training.
Well, that's one of the things, especially from young pitchers, not that Mark is that. We talked about
He's younger than us.
Well, yes, he's young. I guess that is a relative term if you compare him to us, but you want your pitchers to be at least have enough confidence, and you can see the veteran experience that maybe he's not going to let Gardner get a running lead here and pilfer a bag. Is that do you trust your stuff enough, and do you have a windup that you can repeat that you can throw strikes? And you see how big a lead it is.
And that's pulled foul off speed pitch, looked like a changeup.
Yeah, for Jason Nix, who last year he hit 180 on the road and loved to hit at Yankee Stadium. Hitting ballpark over 300, 308. But if he's going to make this ball club, he will be facing left-handers. He'd be one of those guys that takes Andrew Jones' place, who went off to Japan to play.
0-2 the count with 2 down. And there's a bloop to left field right off the fists, and it's going to fall for a base hit. Boy, he came in on him, and he still got it out there. So Nix with a 2-out single. Back-to-back hits with 2 men down. And while we have a moment, Jim, we'd like to send birthday wishes back to Baltimore to our friend Amanda Sarver, who works in the Orioles Public Relations Department, does an outstanding job, very helpful to all of us who follow and cover the team. And she is celebrating a birthday today, so very happy birthday to Amanda, and we hope you have a nice day back home. She'll be down here coming up in a couple of weeks, I believe.
Thank you for the notes, as always.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the Gardner hit keeps the inning alive, as does the Nix base hit. That's what you're looking for. Doesn't have to be 4 runs, but I want to get back in this game.
Matt Diaz now has it straight down at the plate, and it's 0-1. The Yankees last year were 2nd in the American League in runs scored. Texas led the league with 808. The Yankees were right behind him at 804. So those clubs averaged 5 runs per game. And they're going to have a hard time doing that with the lack of power that they at least have in their camp right now, after hitting the 245 home runs last year to lead the American League. The pitching, which it's all about anyway, is even more important now for New York.
Well, they have. I mean, if their guys stay healthy, and then we talk about Sabathia, who is a horse if he comes off the elbow surgery, which everybody's saying is the case. But you have a lot of guys that have done it before. But when you get to be 41 if you're Andy Pettit, or 43 if you're Rivera coming off knee problems, Pettit broke his leg last year getting hit by a line drive. Those are always question marks till you get the eraser out. That's what baseball is all about. Philip Hughes has bulging disc in his back.
And he's the young guy in the staff.
Exactly.
0-2 on Diaz, 2 on and 2 out. And a foul the other way. Well, talking about the power outage, as we take a look at what the Yankees lost, and this doesn't even include Granderson, who went down yesterday, or Alex Rodriguez, because they're still in the organization. These are guys that left the organization, and all those home runs went with them.
Yeah, and then Granderson had 43. A-Rod, who was hurt last year, had 18. So you're going to have to figure something out. You still have, if you're Brian Cashman, what about 5 weeks?
Bouncer slowly at the third. Machado will tag out Gardner, who ran right into him almost. And the inning's over. A couple of hits and 2 men left. Mid-5th. Hey, let's go to the beach. 4-0 O's. Fans, Oriole Park is the perfect setting for your next group outing. You can gather up your family, friends, coworkers, or colleagues and enjoy a fun-filled day or night of Orioles baseball. And with discounted ticket prices for groups as small as 12 fans, party facilities fitting up to 1,000, Oriole Park at Camden Yards makes your group outing an experience that you'll never forget. For all the details, 888-848-BIRD, or just get online, Orioles.com/groups. And here is Shane Green coming on, another minor league pitcher brought along today. He's the 4th pitcher in the game. His numbers in the minor leagues last year, Jimmy's 24, 15th round pick back in 2009.
Yeah, you look at the numbers, you see, usually when you see almost a strikeout an inning, you know you got a power arm. And then you see the 63 walks, so more than 2, or at least once every 2 innings you're walking somebody. Kind of reminds me of my first year in the minor leagues, where you probably have a little problem controlling your stuff. An opportunity here to face Nick Markakis, but it's always exciting when you get the chance to pitch against big leaguers. And you certainly got to know who they are.
Well, Nick Markakis greets him on the first pitch and a base hit to center field. So Nick is 2 out of 3, and Slade Heathcott fields that ball in center field. He is in the game now for Brett Gardner, and Jose Perella is now in the game for J.C. Nix at second base. So a couple of minor leaguers getting a chance here today. And Heathcott out there in center field is one of the Yankees' better prospects. Here's Adam Jones, who's had an RBI double in 2 trips. Down and in, 1-0.
Yeah, good arm, but not a very good windup. He went left, ball went right.
Orioles have had base runners in each of their 5 at-bats. And that pitch right there at the knees. Check swing and a called strike. Green last year pitched for the Tampa Yankees in the Florida State League, in the stadium that the Yankees use for their spring training games.
Yeah, their starting pitcher, Vidal Nuno, he pitched there for a while, too. He was a hanging breaking ball. It's always tough in spring training because you don't know what the repertoire is. It's usually glary because you play a lot of day games. You know, you have a big green background. But if this was the regular season, Jim Presley would have a whole list, tell you the velocity, what kind of breaking balls, what kind of percentage he throws. A little different in spring training.
And the 1-2 is taken low, 2-2. I asked Terry Crowley the other day how long it takes for the hitters to catch up to the pitchers, because this early on in camp the pitchers are clearly ahead, and he said, well, there really isn't a formula. It's just it really is based on each individual and how they prepare themselves and get ready, because it's all about the timing. 2-2 is bounced slowly toward shortstop. Play at second out there, no throw back to first as Markakis made sure with a nice slide, so the fielder's choice. And Jones will reach with 1 down. And welcome to the Orioles Major League staff. There's Bobby Dickerson, who takes over for DeMarlo Hale as the Orioles third base coach. He has been in the organization as the roving minor league infield instructor. Wayne Kirby is still at first base, and Bobby Dickerson has a big history with Buck Showalter. And there's Xavier Avery now pinch running for Adam Jones.
Yeah, 20 years in the minor leagues as either a coach or a manager for Bobby Dickerson. And DeMarlo Hale, of course, he goes to the Blue Jays as the bench coach. So it's an upgrade for him.
We actually saw DeMarlo yesterday. He managed against the Orioles because the Blue Jays had a split squad game, and their manager John Gibbons went with the team that traveled to Tampa to play the Yankees. And here's Matt Wieters with Xavier Avery on at first with his good speed. Draws a throw and he's back. Well, the minor leaguers who have played with Xavier and know the other minor league players still say that Xavier is the fastest of the minor league prospects. Glenn Davis has some pretty good speed. There's the 0-1. Glenn is at the complex, the minor league complex over at Twin Lakes.
Well, Xavier is another of the Orioles. Many Orioles. That little off-seed conditioning, a little bit, about 10 pounds of muscle. He hopes that the experience that he had at the major league level, because he had some good at-bats, and then you saw the inexperience, and that kind of expected that.
Wieters rips it down the line, but just fouled.
He was probably going to score on that ball. It would have gone all the way down into the corner. His kind of speed.
Xavier told me yesterday that this offseason was so beneficial, and you mentioned the bulk that he was able to gain, because for the first time since he's been in the Orioles organization, he didn't have to go play baseball after the season. When the season ended, there was no Arizona Fall League. He missed the Instructional League because he was a just-in-case for the Orioles in the playoffs. And then when the season ended, he was able to go home, rest for a little bit, but then get right at it. You know, beneficial because he put on some bulk. Just inside 2-2.
Yeah, I was talking to Al Bunbury, and of course Al came to the big leagues in 1973, and it was Rookie of the Year. And I had a lot of people compare you to Xavier Avery, and Al said, well, people forget that before I went to Vietnam and was platoon leader, I had about 40 people under me, soldiers under me. He said I had 198 at Stockton.
There's a double play ball hit the short. Velasquez will step on the bag, fire to first. Wieters is out, and that ends the inning. Leadoff single, and none left. We play 5 as Xavier Avery and the O's battle the Yankees. 4-0 O's. Fans, opening day arrives in less than 6 weeks, and the only way to get seats to this sold-out game is by becoming an Orioles partial season plan holder. You'll enjoy dramatic savings on the cost of single-game tickets, and even have the chance to buy seats to the toughest ticket in town, Orioles opening day. Plus, you'll enjoy the full range of exclusive orange carpet benefits. So for all the details, 888-848-BIRD, or get online at Orioles.com. Mike Wright, one of the top pitching prospects in the Orioles system, comes on here in the Major League camp.
Yeah, 5 wins last year at A-ball in Frederick, and then went up to Bowie Double-A. 12 starts, really good down at Frederick. ERA a little under 3 runs a game, so collectively a lot of innings. And you can see really good control. He'll walk every 4 innings, and what, 80 strikeouts, 118 innings, and 108 innings. So throws a lot of strikes. 6'6", tall kid, and comes out of South Carolina.
And the pitch taken high, Juan Rivera. He pitched in college at East Carolina, and the Orioles drafted him. And last year, his season was interrupted by a hamstring problem. Skies it down the line, fading with the wind. Long run for Trayvon Robinson, but that ball ends up back in the crowd. Several defensive changes. There's Travis Ishikawa. He's now at first base. Michael Navarro is playing at second base. There's Romero at shortstop. Newman Romero. Russ Kanzler is at third base. There's Russ. And Luis Exposito is catching, and you just saw Trayvon Robinson. So Buck Showalter wholesale changes here in the 5th inning.
Well, he pretty much got what he wanted from his starting guys. Got guys at bats.
There's a bouncer to third. Kansler plays the hop and then straightens and throws, and nicely done, and then one away. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Baltimore Orioles and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Baltimore Orioles. Well, Mike Wright trying to show what he's capable of, and again, these innings for these youngsters are so important.
Well, they are, and I think if you're Rick Adair, Oriole pitching coach, and if you're Buck Showalter, the skipper, what you like, only one walk. They've thrown a lot of strikes. The guys have made the plays behind them when they needed to get clutch outs. They've been able to do it, and the Oriole hitters have been able to get the clutch hit up to this point.
Pitch taken low by Francisco Cervelli, the catcher. You know, when Buck Showalter met with the media before the game, he was asked about some of the pitchers that we haven't seen yet. And at the top of that group is Jason Hamill, Wei-Yin Chen, and Miguel Gonzalez. And he said, well, they're going to pitch. You know, they're backfields here. They have B games coming up, and they're going to pitch. And he said, don't think Miguel hasn't made a contribution all ever. When they opened the minor league camp the other day, they used Miguel as an example of what might happen if you work hard and you get noticed in that minor league camp. Let's not forget, Miguel last year was not in the major league camp at all, didn't even sign till March the 4th, and he spent the entire spring in the Double-A field. And then when the season began, he didn't have a team. And then before you know it, he becomes one of the starters on a team that went to the playoffs. So Buck Showalter wants every player in this organization to know it's about opportunity. If you help us win, we're going to notice, we're going to give you a chance.
Yeah, Wei-Yin Chen goes, flu-like symptoms yesterday, so he's a little bit under the weather. I said, Miguel, are you going to pitch this spring? He said, I'll get my one of the first. Last year he's pitching in the Mexican League, and that's where the Orioles kind of discovered him. So, again, Brady Anderson disciple, working out. Feels good. There's a strike. Perfect pitch. Yeah, if you're Francisco Cervelli, you go, wait a minute. This is not fair. I get about 6 pitches to hit, or 5 of them until here, and then he just paints down and away. And nicely received for the strikeout. Check swing. Thought about trying to swing, just too good a pitch.
The two-downers, Melky Mesa lifts it to right field. Robinson in on it and hangs, and he has it for the out. Mike Wright with a real solid 3-up, 3-down inning. Mid-6th in Sarasota, the Orioles with a 4-0 lead over the Yankees. Orioles with a 4-0 lead as they get set to bat in the bottom of the 6th, and the Yankees with their 5th different pitcher coming on. Here is Ryan Pope, another of the youngsters getting a look. See, 46 games in the minor leagues last year, a 3-6 record.
Yeah, about 4 starts. Actually hails just up the road in Bradenton, Florida. The next town up, contiguous to Sarasota.
kind of contiguous.
Yeah, yeah, we're dropping off.
You know your geography, too. Let's head out to the Orioles bullpen. Adam Jones is nice enough to join us. Adam, how you doing?
I'm good. Good word, Palmer.
You like that?
That's a good word.
Was it noble?
Very. I mean, you got to expand that vocabulary.
Thank you. Working on it, big boy.
So, Adam, tell us from a veteran's perspective now, and you are, in fact, a veteran. Where are you at this point, and where do you hope to be or hope to get?
Well, I got to be ready by March 7th to play with Team USA, so I got to turn it up a little bit, but I'm fine. My body's, the first week of soreness is over with, so now it's just about maintaining and staying in shape for the rest of the year.
Now, I was in here earlier in the week, and you're always in good spirits, but you're really looking forward to representing the United States in this World Baseball Classic.
Oh, of course. I mean, you get to wear your country on your chest. It's awesome playing for Baltimore and having that city, support me and the Orioles. But now we're going to support the entire United States and Major League Baseball. And it's just, I look at it as just an honor that they even asked me.
Now, when you come back from there, and you mentioned that you're going to have to be game ready by the time that tournament begins, is there any concern whatsoever that you'll peak too soon, so to speak, because you're going to leave all that atmosphere and then come back to spring training?
Well, that's fine, and playing the game. I don't think I'm going to peak too soon. I'm just do what I have to do out there for Team USA, and then come back and join the O's and do what I do best, play.
Yeah, I was talking to Buck. He's Buck. He's concerned already. See, now he's going to be up, and then he's going to be down. Then I got to get him up. I would imagine, whether you have a good series or not, and I figure you're going to have a good one, you're going to be ready for April 2nd when David Price is on the mound for the Rays.
Well, that's number one. I think that's most important. Even before playing for Team USA, I have to be ready to play for the O's first and foremost. And as long as I'm ready by April 2nd, I don't think Showalter will have any problems with it.
Adam, one of the things that has been very noticeable as Trayvon Robinson hits the second, and he is safe. There's a steal for Robinson. It was really impressing here with the base hit to lead off the inning. Now a steal. You are, in fact, a team leader now, and I noticed several of your teammates walking around with T-shirts that I assume you had made up with your Twitter name on there and the phrase "Stay hungry." Tell us about that.
Well, I just started tweeting it out, and like I said, the Twitter world is anytime you say something and you say it more than twice, it's a new word, it's a phrase, and it's worked so far. And a couple of people told me to switch it up a little, but it worked. So I like to stick with what works. And it's just I'd say a moniker for just always go out there and grind. Always. There's never, there never needs to be a moment where you're not out there grinding.
Well, isn't that what last season was about with all the 1-2 run extra inning wins? I mean, everybody says, well, they take them away. We know that. That's part of the game. Everybody goes, oh, you can't ever do that again. But to win close games, to win extra inning games, doesn't that mean you got to really dig deep to win those type of games?
Oh, yeah. We were hungry. Palmer,
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a whole different club here, Adam, as you know.
Oh, yeah. One-run games are important, and our bullpen and our defense were the reason why we were able to win a lot of one-run games. And also, I mean, it started with our starters, going into the 6th and 7th innings a lot. And I think that helped us out. Our guys were throwing strike after strike, not putting guys on for free, and you see what happened with it.
Buck has mentioned so many times how angry you guys were as a group losing that Game 5 in New York. What does that mean, and how does that motivate you now moving forward to this season?
Well, I mean, the whole last year was awesome. I think no one was happy about losing to the Yankees. It was a good series. We both took a lot out of each other, and it was an awesome experience. But obviously, we would have loved to come out on top. But it was a learning experience for everybody in the Orioles organization, because we haven't been there in a while. So we learned a lot, and now we just got to try and get back there and take a deep breath once we get there.
We asked Buck this when we visited with him earlier in this telecast, and I'll ask you. There is that phrase in baseball that you need to learn to win as a team. Do you believe that happened?
That happened last year. If you see, we played as a team last year, and it was, countless guys with, big hits. You had, Steve Tullison had big hits for us. Lou Ford had big hits. When McLeod came over, he had big hits. Teagarden he probably, out of the 12 hits he had last year, I guarantee you 8 of them were big situations and drove in a big run late. And everybody from top to bottom did something, and that's how you win as a team.
Can I ask you one question? When you're healthy, you put up great numbers. I mean, home runs were up last year. Runs, batting average was up. Do you have goals, or do you look at yourself, okay, what can Adam Jones do to be a little bit better here in 2013?
Play the game more. There's obviously you always want to work on this or that. I think that if I just play my game and play play with the team, and the team has success, I think I'll be right in the middle of it with my numbers. And I've grown now to where I don't even care about my own personal numbers. I just want that W and shake Showalter's hand at the end of the game.
The other part of this equation here, and the way this team has come on, as you say, you learned together and you grew together, is there's a resiliency on this team that is fabulous. Nothing carries over to the next day. Where does that come from?
Nothing. It comes from the top. Showalter's a big man on that. He's, the sun's going to come back up. It's baseball. You do play 162. In football, you have a whole week to just bash yourself because you had a bad Sunday. But in baseball, you don't have time to really dwell on it. Go home, go back to the hotel, dwell on it. But as soon as you go to sleep, forget about it and come back to the park the next day ready to do something.
Yeah, in football, you ruminate about it.
Yeah.
You knew that, though.
Good word right there.
You like that? Okay, I think you like that one.
Adam, you got to top him now. Come on.
My vocabulary is not expensive.
We talked about that. What's that other vocabulary you sometimes go into that had a, you had those terms. I had to go on Google. I couldn't understand what you were talking about.
My Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
So, Adam, you're going to leave the Orioles Sunday to go to the Team USA camp in Arizona. When will the games begin? How quickly after you get there do you go play?
Well, I think it's the 7th. 7th is the there's one exhibition game, and I believe it's the 7th. Then we're on 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th.
All right, well, we appreciate the visit. Thanks so much. Best of luck out there, and best of luck for a good season coming up.
Much appreciated.
That's Adam Jones, one of the Orioles leaders, and just a great guy. Boy, he has not only developed into a star on the field, he's a leader, and he understands that, and he's moving to Baltimore full-time, which I think is wonderful.
Well, how lucky were we just to have him? That's love it. But how about how the Orioles score this run? Ishikawa gets the guy over. You get the infield in. You add another run. There's Oriole baseball right now. Again, it's only spring training, but again, you're trying to 4-0, make it 5-0, or maybe a little bit more. So that works. Second at bat for Nate McLouth, ringing double up the gap. His first time up.
Takes ball one, and in this inning, Trayvon Robinson, who's trying to make the team, singled and stole a base to get in the scoring position. And Russ Kanzler, who's trying to make the team, drove him in. So it's all about your opportunities, and both of those players are in the mix. Robinson can play all three outfield positions, and he's a switch hitter. And Kanzler, who has some major league experience and had an interesting offseason, being waived and picked up 4 different times by different teams, including the Indians twice. They had him, let him go, brought him back.
Well, but that's all about Ron Johnson, who manages the AAA ball club. He saw him, and he said in that organization, when he was managing in the minor leagues, as he did last year, he said Russ Kanzler had some quality bats on almost all occasions, so he knows how to hit.
Wynn gets a hold of that. That's back in the crowd. This early on in the spring, the veterans are brought along at their pace because the managers have April 2nd on mine, not March 2nd. We're not even in March yet. March isn't until later on in the week. But for those players like Kanzler, like Robinson, these are critical at-bats because they're trying to show what they can do. The organization brought them in to add quality depth, not just extra players, but quality depth. And there is the legitimate competition for these jobs. Cloud swings through it 2-2. Nate drove in 2 runs with a double in his first at-bat after pinch hitting for Nolan Reimold. There's Newman Romero on at first after the fielder's choice, and there's a close pitch but taken for ball 3. Romero, one of the extra infielders in this camp. And the 3-2 is popped up. Left field. And Mace is there. He has it for the out. The inning ends. But the Orioles get another run on the base hit, driving in Robinson by Kanzler. We'll head to the 7th. 5-0 Orioles. Well, don't forget you can follow the Orioles with the MLB.com @bat for your phone, your iPad, iPhone, or Android, and get spring training scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. All you have to do is text @bat to 31826 or visit Orioles.com for all the details. Mike Wright was so efficient in his 3-up, 3-down inning. He's in there for a second inning.
Yeah, his punishment is he has to pitch a second inning. That's what pitch efficiency will do.
Youngsters in spring training games. Good to be a prospect when they think highly of you, because you get these opportunities and you go down, 6 up, 6 down, no problem.
Well, he probably is on a pitch count, and I see somebody throwing in the Oriole bullpen. Well, so what happens is you get a certain amount of pitches. You hope that you'll be efficient. You'll get some outs. Well, there's one.
Ball sharply
Ishikawa, yeah.
Fielded there by Ishikawa.
And again, he was a big part of that one run, because he got the runner over after Trayvon Robinson stole the base, just hit a routine ground ball to the right side, and he just picks it. Really good defender last year with Milwaukee. We saw him when he was interleague play go out to San Francisco, where Travis Ishikawa is one of the best pinch hitters in the National League. I don't think Dan Duquette doesn't look at those numbers.
Walter Ibarra is now batting as you look there at Ishikawa. Managers are very liberal with how they use these backups in these games. Again, it's all about the pacing. Here's a good-looking off-speed pitch on the outside corner.
Well, you get behind, and then you throw in the changeup. Get back into the count. And if you get deeper in the count, it's going to be in the back of the hitter's mind.
High fly ball left center. McLouth and Avery gets over to McLouth as the wind got a hold of it. So 2 quick outs for Mike Wright here in the 7th.
Now batting, first baseman, number 89,
Greg Bird now will bat, is in at first base.
Nice little batting average.
It bounces in there. Mike Wright, just 23 years old. He was a 3rd-round pick by the O's in 2011. This is his 3rd pro season. And he's one of those guys, Buck Showalter, all season long, when he has his daily briefing before games with the Orioles media, especially in the home games where he has the interview room and he's up on the podium. But he'll throw out a name. Hey, did you see what so-and-so did last night? He's talking to Steve Molesky all the time about the minor leagues because Steve follows it so well. And last year, Mike Wright's name came up quite a bit before he had that hamstring problem. And, Buck would say, hey, you see what Mike Wright did last night? Boy, he's you got to keep your eye on that guy. And I mean, he wants the minor leaguers to know they're thinking about him, and that's how he goes about it.
Eduardo Rodriguez is a lefty. You'll probably see him this spring. His name gets thrown around a lot.
And he pitched last year at 19 years old for Delmarva, Eduardo.
Not a great record, but ERA of under 4 runs a game, 3.70 for Rodriguez. As he comes out of Venezuela.
There's a chopper towards the middle. Fielded there by Navarro. The off-balance throw just in toes. Safe. The foot came off the bag. Ishikawa disagrees, but there's the call, so that'll be an infield hit. Nicely turned the try there by Navarro up the middle.
Yeah, it looked like he was able to go on. Had to go a long way. Throw's going to tail a little bit. Oh, I don't know. I think he was on the bag. Eventually comes off. I mean, it's touching the bag. Got the umpire right there. One of the Welke brothers, Tim. Bill over at third base.
Here's Slade Heathcott, who took over in center field. Heathcott is 22 years old. He was the Yankees' first-round pick in 2009. He was a high school player in Texarkana, Texas. And he is making his way through the system. There's a bouncer toward shortstop. Romero fields. And he'll get it to first, and just in time to get the hustling Heathcott, who shows some speed. And the inning ends. Infield hit a man left. 7th inning stretch in Sarasota. Hey, let's walk the dog in a 5-0 Orioles lead. And we hope you can tune into the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report every weekday at 5 o'clock. You get all your Orioles news, catch live batting practice, look-ins when there are games, interviews with players, stats, the analysis, and much, much more. Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock right here on MASN HD. And don't forget, all spring training long, you can follow the Orioles. Just go online at MASNsports.com. Rock Kabako is here. He's been here for the entire time and will be here the entire time. And get all your game updates. So follow Rock on MASNsports.com. Our friend Dave Johnson is here from the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report. Saw Dave this morning hanging out with Peter Schmuck.
He's not here because he's playing golf somewhere at the moment. But there you go. They got a lot of Perez's in their minor leagues, and this is one of them. So again, out of the Dominican Republic, nice little numbers. Look at that. Strikeout per inning, walk every 2 innings, and hits well below innings pitched.
He is the 6th pitcher used by Joe Girardi.
And he looks taller than he's listed at 6'1".
Yamaiko Navarro will get his first at-bat. Pokes it the other way, but it fades foul. The only starter who is still in the lineup was Markakis, the DH, and that's about to change as well because Chris Dickerson has come out on deck to pinch hit for Nick. There's Chris. Another of the pickups for depth by Dan Duquette. That one bounces in. It took an inning, Jim, but the scorecard is now up to date.
Well, I'm glad yours is.
And not only have all the names, they're in the right spot.
Well, the press guides aren't out yet, so when they give you the notes, they're not together.
Right.
It's like looking at your notes when you're about studying for your finals.
How'd you do on those?
I did well in the finals, but I'm not doing too well this afternoon.
The other day,
I know one of the Perez's is pitching.
There you go.
And of course, Navarro I know because we have our notes in a binder.
Absolutely. Well, they take care of you.
Yeah, they do. So we saw Navarro when he came up with the Red Sox, free swinging right-handed hitter last year, AAA Indianapolis, and also the Pirates.
And it's low ball forward. He works the walk.
Nice little take right there. Knee-high pitch just under the strike zone.
One of the things that you'll see very often in the spring games, and both managers in this game have gone this route, when they make changes, they don't necessarily make the changes straight up, where the player that replaces the shortstop goes into that spot, and that's because they may want one or two of the players, hopefully, to get more than one at-bat. So they'll put them wherever the next vacant spot comes up, so that spot turns around when the lineup turns around. And here's Chris Dickerson, who you mentioned was with the Yankees last year and played against the Orioles. And he looks over a strike.
Yeah, 25 at bats for the Yankees with a couple of home runs, but again hit well over 300 at AAA Scranton. And again, a very good defender. You can put him anywhere in the outfield; he'll play well.
Takes it outside, 1-1. Well, he'll turn 31 on April the 10th. He brings experience. He's been in pro ball since 2003, and he's played for now 4 major league organizations. Started with the Reds, then went to Milwaukee. Jim mentioned last year with the Yankees, and now with the Orioles. Ball and a strike on him, and then he takes low, ball 2. You know, watching Navarro and now Chris Dickerson look over those pitches, one of the things that we're going to be looking at as this month progresses is patience at the plate by Oriole hitters. There seems to be a trend that's developing that the Oriole hitters are looking to take more pitches this year to work the count. And that ball's ripped in the right field for a base hit. Navarro thought about it, instead puts on the brakes.
Yeah, usually if you're a prospect, you can throw well. That ball hit hard enough, but that is exactly, if you brought Showalter or Jim Presley, what you want Chris Dickerson to do. He gets ahead in the count. There's the pitcher's behind him, 2-1 fastball, and he's all over it. What you expect from a veteran hitter, even if it is spring training. The thing about Navarro is that if you look at his numbers in the minor leagues, and of course he did play for the Red Sox, they're always into on-base percentage. Somebody the Orioles always talk about on-base percentage. We want to improve it. It leads to runs. He's done a nice job of it, and that's how he started this inning.
Xavier Avery swings through it.
See, but there's a straight changeup, young hitter, couldn't be possibly looking for it. The good news for Xavier is he swung through it. You know, he talked to Jim Presley. You know, he was a home run hitter, strikeout guy when he played. But as a hitting instructor, get your pitch, look for your pitch till you get to 2 strikes. Doesn't mean that you may not make outs, but just have a game plan. Of course, the problem with a changeup, it looks like a fastball. It's easy to be fooled on.
Avery down in the count, 0-2. And he fouls it off. And strike 3 called. And Perez gets the strikeout of Avery. They called strike 3 and 1 down in the Orioles 7th.
I'm going to take a look, and again, change-ups early on. You see the curveball well off the plate. Mostly framed. I mean, it's only about 4 inches off the plate. Not a particularly good call. But something you see when it's 5-0 in spring training on occasion.
Luis Exposito for his first at-bat. There's a chopper to third. Fielded there by Joseph. Steps on the bag, fires across, and the scoop on the back end completes the double play. So 2 on to begin the inning, and the Orioles can't score. We'll head to the 8th on a beautiful day in Sarasota. 5-0 O's. Well, here's what we're talking about, what you see early on in spring training. Over the first 2 games coming into today, Jim, here's what the Orioles had done. 16 different pitchers were used in the first 2 games, and only Jurgens and Belfiore managed 2 innings. That's by design. It's all about pitch counts. 30 different position players were used. 7 of those different players with an RBI, and just 1 error over the first 18 innings of play, and no errors through 7 innings today. So all the players getting a look, and just adding to that number today. But that's what these early games are all about.
Well, they are. And again, when you talk about that, you talk about a guy like Zach Clark, who last year led all of the minor league pitchers in wins. He had 10 down at Double-A Bowie with a 3.19 ERA. Then he gets called up to Triple-A, and he goes 5-2 with a 1.75. So very much, even though we saw Steve Johnson come up and pitch very well, it's almost like his name is not in the mix. But Zach Clark, I was talking to Scotty McGregor, a longtime Oriole coach and former pitcher, and I said, tell me about Zach Clark. Great windup, sinks the ball, really good tight spin on his curveball, and a windup he can repeat. And then you talk to Zach and said, where, there's the curveball we talked about. He said, you know what, I just never really had a chance. Some years I'm a reliever, some years I'm a starter. But Al Bumbry walked by. He said, well, what do you want to be this year? He said, anything they want me to be.
L.J. Ho's now in the game in left field. He played yesterday in Dunedin. Well, you root for guys like Zach Clark because they just stick around and they keep getting noticed because they play well. Navarro nicely done to his left, and 1 down as Torella is retired. And you talk about a guy, Jim, who's been in pro ball. It's his 8th pro season. And he has pitched in 171 games, 116 games started in the minors, and 758 minor league innings. It's just amazing. And finally gets added to the 40-man roster, and here he is in the big league camp.
And I asked him, I said, is it one of those reasons where, say, you were throwing next to Arrieta or even Gausman, field his position well, or Bundy, that you won't light up the radar gun? He said that's exactly the case. But Scotty McGregor, who I have a lot of trust in, will tell you he can pitch. That's what you want.
With 2 quick outs. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Baltimore Orioles and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Baltimore Orioles. Tyler Austin is batting. This is the Juan Rivera spot.
Some nice little numbers right there. A lot of home runs, high average. Zach Clark does what all the Oriole pitchers have done all afternoon, throw a lot of strikes and only the 1 base on balls. That was all the way back in the 4th inning. Milky Mesa for the Yanks. And then just runs it in on them.
So Zach Clark, who is the minor league veteran that finally on a major league roster on the 40-man, is facing a 21-year-old, one again of the top prospects of the Yankees.
And the 0-2 count allows you to pitch out of the strike zone. Let's see where he goes. There it is, little slider.
In the dirt, swung on and missed. So Zach Clark comes on, a very impressive 3-up, 3-down inning. That's the Orioles pitching doing a good job against mostly minor league Yankees on the other side. Well, that's at the bottom of the 8th. The O's have the lead. 5-0 lead for the Orioles as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Birds will come to bat facing a new pitcher. Here is Josh Spence, who comes on for New York.
And again, you can see just signed kind of a 3/4, almost sidearm pitcher. One of those guys they may be grooming to be a left-handed specialist. Yeah, the Yankees, again, how about Kevin Youkilis going to be the third baseman for the Yankees this year? Kind of unusual if you're used to that Red Sox-Yankee rivalry. Of course, Youkilis last year traded with Will Middlebrooks, even though he broke his hand, the third baseman of the future for the Red Sox. Youkilis spending the last, three and a half months with the White Sox. Hit a bunch of home runs, average wasn't very good, so he'll play third, at least initially, for the Yankees.
Austin Romine is doing the catching.
Yeah, one of their young prospects. If he can stay healthy, he may be a guy that sees a lot of innings behind the plate for the Yanks.
Josh Spence is from Australia, Jim. 25 years old. Facing Trayvon Robinson. And that's swept to shortstop where Walter Ibarra has it. And gets the hustling Robinson. Robinson in this game, he's had 2 at-bats, 1 left side, 1 right side. That's another facet he brings to the Orioles, versatility of being a switch hitter.
With some power.
He got all over us in a kidding way at FanFest because the Buckle Up DVD of last season was revealed. And he was at the party when it was revealed. They had it at the IMAX Theater at the Science Center, right there in Key Highway. Here's Travis Ishikawa. And it was just by coincidence, but the Orioles had some big games late in the season against Seattle, big wins, and he struck out 3 times in the video. He's like, why are you picking on me? I'm on the Orioles now. Well, you weren't then. That's why they picked the video. If you made a big out, you made it.
Oh, he's got a good sense of humor. Well, I suppose he needed it that day.
Yes, he
3
did.
punch-outs, but
Here's a tapper past the mound. He had to reach for it, Ishikawa, and Barron nicely done.
yeah, really nice play. Good breaking ball. Young pitcher executes his pitch. Yeah, lefty versus lefty. Routine ground ball, and except that I guess it is a routine because he had to come a long way to get it. Perfect throw. But Trayvon Robinson the other day in the inter-squad game, Chris Davis homered over his head. And I said, you got to catch that ball. You got to jump. You got to sky, NBA guy. And he said, no, I left my Jordans at home. I can't catch that ball.
Here's Russ Kanzler.
RBI after Trayvon Robinson stole the base. And again, they like his ability. Ron Johnson, who manages the Norfolk club, said he knows how to hit. Quality at bats.
Well, here was his offseason. December 19th, designated for assignment by the Indians, claimed by Toronto. He lasted there till January 2nd. He was put on waivers. The Indians claimed him back. And 2 days later, he was put on waivers again. The Yankees claimed him. So now we're up to January 4th. He actually stayed in the Yankees organization until February 1st. He was designated for assignment. The Orioles claimed him on the 5th, just in time to come here in this camp.
Yeah, and Ron Johnson was saying, he said, I just cannot understand, even though new manager, Terry Francona, with the Indians, they've gone out and they signed Swisher. They went out and got Michael Bourne. So I think that's kind of the progression. They get him back because they know he's a pretty good hitter.
Pops it up shallow right. Austin comes in on it. He's called off by the second baseman, Perella, who has it for the out. So a nice inning there for Josh Spence. 3 up, 3 down. We'll head to the 9th in Sarasota with the Orioles in front. Well, the Orioles head to the 9th inning against the Yankees with a 5-0 lead. Adam Russell will come on. New to the Orioles team. We'll see 2011 he was in the big leagues with Tampa Bay.
Well, if you're going to play pickup basketball, this is a guy you want on your team. Seems like he's about 6'11". I think he's 6'8" or 6'9". Big guy, and again, different arm angle, trying to find a niche where you can get both hitters out, but especially the right-hander. We just looked like when he was with the Rays, that good arm, but maybe a little bit lack of command. And again, an opportunity. You're always looking for more pitching, and Adam able to do that. Of course, an article in the Baltimore paper is sister fighting breast cancer, and I guess his brother-in-law also diagnosed. So we certainly wish them well. And I guess the article talked about how he was kind of the Manny, not the nanny, but the Manny, because he babysits and whatever. So his off season, normally he would be getting ready for spring training. He was helping his family. Terrific story, and let's hope that both his brother-in-law and sister recover.
And he misses inside. Here's Austin Romine, who's in Cervelli's spot. That was a little high. Well, Russell is one of those guys, and he'll turn 30 in April 14th, but he's always had that arm that organizations covet. And when you look at his career and his track record, he came up with the White Sox, but then he was included in the trade to San Diego when the White Sox got Jake Peavy. And then San Diego included him in the trade to Tampa Bay when they got Jason Bartlett from Tampa Bay. So he went for some players that were coveted by other teams because of the arm. Nice play by Romero, gets it across and one down. So Adam Russell has always been coveted.
Well, he is 6'8", and Wells weighs somewhere in the 250 range. And it's a fine line. You like to have the leverage that a 6'8" guy has, but again, if you watch him, you don't want to drop too much. You want to drop on the way. If you drop it at the pitching rubber, a lot of times you get under your stuff, which he did early in the count to the first batter. And there he just floats a little breaking ball in. And he's always been a guy that strikes out a lot of people, but then again about walks a batter every 2 innings, which is a little bit high.
Ramon Flores is the batter, fouls it off, so it's 0-2. So how do you feel? You're back on the air, you're back at it, you've got almost one game under your belt.
Another win.
Another win.
Hopefully. Or as Cal Ripken Sr. used to tell me, don't put the bats away until you get that 27th out. Which Buck Showalter certainly would attest to that.
It's certainly been fun being back with you.
Well, it's always great, and again, I came over for Jim Johnson, who lives in this area, does a Miracle League. They built a ballpark for kids. I guess 2 years ago. So they do a big fundraiser. Try to come over and support that. People really supported well here. Raised a lot of money. Jim, has been living in a community. He's certainly done a nice part to it. So you come over, the ball club. They're coming off the first winning season in 15 years. It's an improved ball club. It's a positive ball club. You've got one of the great managers in baseball, finished second to Bob Melvin. You got the Dan Aykroyd of general managers and Dan Duquette. Better looking, of course. Maybe not quite as funny, but he does a terrific job. So again, this club going in the right direction.
Here's Corbin Joseph, and there's a strike. Well, I'm sure Dan's listening, so now he knows you're.
Well, I already told him that. It's come a long way. Now he wears short sleeve shirts. It's work in progress, but he knows his baseball.
He sure does.
No, does he ever? Well, he comes from a scouting background.
This they work so well together, Dan and Buck, and as Buck told us when he joined us earlier in the game, it's beyond just them too. It's everybody in the organization. They even did an early camp this year before all the minor leaguers reported to spring training. Gary Kendall, who's the Bowie manager, he was over there running it. He's got most of the minor league coaches over there. Einar Diaz, who will be the hitting coach at Bowie, he's here helping Jim Presley out. But many of the minor league coaches are over there at Twin Lakes, and they have been because of the early camp this year. Showalter.
Yeah, Brian Graham right there. His promotion now is a player developer. I'm talking to Buck Showalter, who's on the left there, our left. You see what happens when you just if you're that tall and you drop the elbow, drop the leg, you just get underneath. Such a fine line when you're 6'8".
A full count with 2 down, bases empty. That's outside ball 4, so the Yankees prolong the inning.
Yeah, the Yankees have a guy, Dylan Betances, who, again, a youngster, I think he's about 23. He's the same height as Alan Russell. He was about 97, 98, but we've seen it many times over the years. Can you command that windup? Can you repeat it? Can you make quality pitches?
Walter Ibarra. Runner goes, throw to second base is wide. The tag not in time.
Nice diving play right there by Romero.
So Corbin Josephs trying to show Joe Girardi that he can run. If he's out, the game's over.
Of course, they're playing behind him, so he gets a huge lead, and then he actually was out because his hand was not on the bag. And I don't think he kind of a tough play for the ump.
And that pitch misses 2-0, and Exposito out to talk with Adam Russell.
Of course, Louis telling her, Buck Showalter, I got a strong arm. Threw a bullet down there.
Exposito is on the 40-man roster. Missing high, ball 3. With 2 outs in the inning, the runner at second, Ibarra up. He's in the Gil Velasquez spot, number 8 in the lineup. Velasquez was 1 out of 2 in his at-bats. There's a strike in the outside corner. Russell is the 7th Oriole pitcher, and the Yankees have not yet scored.
Yeah, the home plate umpire, Toby Basner. That's a new name. They have now.
There's a base hit to left center field. LJ Hose will play it back in. And explosive scores on the base hit by Walter Ibarra.
Yeah, 3-1. He's looking for a strike. He gets it. And again, you're just looking for that elusive 27th out if you're the Orioles. You get on the board. Boy, it is tough when you lose your command because for Adam, he's not getting his fastball over. He hasn't thrown a breaking pitch yet. That might have been a little bit of a change up there at 83 miles per hour, but he missed. So now he's back into a fastball count. The hitter knows that. He knows it.
Greg Bird is the batter. There's a strike taken. Ryan Mattis started 2 scoreless innings. Tommy Hunter a scoreless inning. Pedro Strop a scoreless inning. Mark Hendrickson a scoreless inning. When Mike Wright came on, he pitched 2 scoreless innings, allowing only an infield hit on a play we thought Bird was out at first base, but it was called safe by Bill Welke. Zach Clark pitched a 3 up, 3 down 8th, and now it's Adam Russell. All 3 well off the plate.
Yeah, trying to find that release point, and they're having a problem. And that's spring training. I mean, I still think one of the great stories was when Ray Miller was the first year as a pitching coach. Mike Flanagan in the inter-squad game, he's struggling. Ray runs out there. He goes, "You don't have your rhythm." And Flanagan looked at him and he goes, "Ray, it's spring training." I mean, and I know it sounds funny, but you throw and whatever, you forget it. You forget what a stretch is like. You know, that 3.5, 4 month period. But again, Adam Russell would like to impress him, and they have a little problem doing that. There's a strike.
Strike 3 called, and that'll end the game. So Bird looking for the walk to prolong it. Russell does allow a run, but he gets out of it. A walk, a hit, and 1 man left. Final score in Sarasota. Orioles over the Yankees, our final 5-1.